నేను ఒక కార్డ్ డ్రా చేసుకుంటున్నాను. సో విచ్ ఇస్ 4C1 of 4 and then probability which is P of E is equal to 4C1 of 4 however the way you want 52C1. That's it, which means 1/13. Correct? Done? So now let's see the next question. See, the card drawn is black and a queen. Now try to understand, the card drawn is black and a queen. See, ఇది and in the sense మీరు రెండు కండిషన్స్ తీసుకోవాల్సి వస్తుంది. ట్రై టు అండర్స్టాండ్, ద కార్డ్ డ్రాన్ ఇస్ బ్లాక్ అండ్ అ క్వీన్. సో నా టోటల్ అవుట్కమ్స్ ఏంటంటే నో చేంజెస్, ఇట్స్ గోయింగ్ టు బి 52C1 అండ్ N of E. నా రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఏంటి, నాకేం కావాలి అంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ నథింగ్ బట్ బ్లాక్ అండ్ అ క్వీన్. సో నేను డ్రా చేసేది ఎలా ఉండాలి అంటే షుడ్ బి అ బ్లాక్ అండ్ షుడ్ బి ఏ క్వీన్. సో బ్లాక్ మీకు ఎన్ని ఉంటాయి అని చూసినట్లయితే బ్లాక్ వీ హ్యావ్ 26 కార్డ్స్. అవునా, బ్లాక్ 26 కార్డ్స్ ఉన్నాయి. బట్ అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం ఇట్ బ్లాక్ అయి ఉండాలి అండ్ క్వీన్ కార్డ్ అయి ఉండాలి. సో 26లో నాకు బ్లాక్ ఎన్ని కార్డ్స్ ఉంటుందంటే ఎన్ని అంటే 2 క్వీన్స్ ఉంటుంది. ఈ 2 క్వీన్స్ ఏంటి అని మీరు చూసినట్లయితే ఒకటి క్లబ్, ఇంకోటి ఏంటంటే స్పేడ్. అవునా, సో మీకు మీ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఏంటి అంటే ఈ 2 కార్డ్స్ మాత్రమే. సో ఈ 2 మీ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఏంటి అంటే ఈ రెండిట్లో ఒకటి అంటే ఈ 2 కార్డ్స్. సో బ్లాక్ క్వీన్ అంటే స్పేడ్ క్వీన్ అన్న రావచ్చు, లేదు మీకు ఎలా ఉంది మీ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ క్లబ్ క్వీన్ అన్న రావచ్చు. బట్ బ్లాక్ అయి ఉండాలి, క్వీన్ అయి ఉండాలి. సో ఇట్స్ గోయింగ్ టు బి 2C1. ఈ రెండిట్లో ఒక కార్డ్ మాత్రమే మీరు చూస్ చేసుకుంటున్నారు. ఇన్ సచ్ కేస్ P of E is equal to మీరు చూసినట్లయితే ఇట్స్ గోయింగ్ టు బి 2C1/52C1. That's it. Which is 2/52. That's it. Like you can cancel and get it like 1/26. That's it. Now let's see the next question. The card drawn is either black or a queen. Fantastic. So దానికి ముందు క్వశ్చన్ థర్డ్ మీరు చూసినట్లయితే ద కార్డ్ డ్రాన్ ఇస్ బ్లాక్ అండ్ అ క్వీన్. స్పెసిఫిక్గా బ్లాక్ కార్డ్ అయి ఉండాలి, అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం క్వీన్ అయి ఉండాలి. అంటే మనకి 2 కార్డ్స్ మాత్రమే ఉంది, స్పేడ్ క్వీన్, క్లబ్ క్వీన్. సో రిక్వైర్మెంట్ 2 అండ్ టోటల్ 52. సో ఈ 2లో ఒక కార్డ్ తీసుకుంటున్నా అంటే 52లో ఒక కార్డ్ తీసుకుంటున్నాం. మీ రిక్వైర్మెంట్ బై టోటల్ అవుట్కమ్ డన్ 2/52. నా ఇప్పుడు మీరు చూసినట్లయితే ఇట్ షుడ్ బి ఈదర్ బ్లాక్ ఆర్ అ క్వీన్. అంటే బ్లాక్ అయి ఉండొచ్చు లేదంటే క్వీన్ అయి ఉండొచ్చు. సో ఇలా ఉంది, బ్లాక్ అయి ఉండొచ్చు లేదా క్వీన్ అయి ఉండొచ్చు. సో నా రిక్వైర్మెంట్ బ్లాక్ అండ్ కాదు నా ఇప్పుడు ఆర్ అ క్వీన్. ఆర్ ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ నాకు రిక్వైర్మెంట్ మొత్తం చేంజ్ అయినట్లే. ఇట్స్ ఇస్ లైక్ బ్లాక్ ఆర్ అ క్వీన్. సో నేను చూస్ చేసి నేను 52 కార్డ్స్ నుంచి ఒక కార్డ్ నేను పిక్ చేసినప్పుడు సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకున్నప్పుడు నాకు బ్లాక్ కార్డ్స్ రావచ్చు. ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ సో బ్లాక్ కార్డ్స్ రావచ్చు అంటే బ్లాక్ కార్డ్స్ ఎన్ని ఉంటుంది మన దగ్గర 26 ఉంటుంది. 13 స్పేడ్ అండ్ 13 క్లబ్. కరెక్ట్. ఆర్ ఇన్ probability always represents addition. Now a queen. సో క్వీన్ కార్డ్స్ ఎన్ని ఉంటాయి టోటల్గా మీరు చూసినట్టయితే 4 ఉంటుంది. క్లబ్లో ఒకటి, స్పేడ్లో ఒకటి, డైమండ్లో ఒకటి, హార్టిన్లో ఒకటి. బట్ ట్రై టు అండర్స్టాండ్, ఆల్రెడీ ఈ 26లో మనకు 2 క్వీన్స్ ఉంటుంది. ఇప్పుడు ఈ బ్లాక్ 26 కార్డ్స్ వదిలేసి రెడ్లో ఉన్న క్వీన్స్ వరకు సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకున్నారంటే మీకు 2 క్వీన్స్ ఉంటుంది. సో మీరు సెపరేట్గా మళ్ళీ 4 క్వీన్స్ని మెన్షన్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం ఉండదు, ఎందుకంటే దిస్ పర్టికులర్ 26 ఇన్క్లూడ్స్ 2 క్వీన్స్. అంటే ఒక స్పేడ్ క్వీన్, ఒక క్లబ్ క్వీన్ అనేది ఆల్రెడీ 26లో మింగిల్ అయి ఉంటుంది. ఈ పర్టికులర్ హార్టిన్లో రెడ్ కలర్లో ఉన్న క్వీన్ రెడ్ కలర్లో ఏంటంటే హార్టిన్ ఒక క్వీన్ అండ్ దెన్ డైమండ్ ఒక క్వీన్, ఆ 2 యాడ్ చేసుకుంటున్నాను విచ్ ఇస్ గోయింగ్ టు బి 28. సో ఇట్ మీన్స్ 26 బ్లాక్ కార్డ్స్ అండ్ 2 రెడ్ క్వీన్స్. రిమెంబర్ దిస్, 26 బ్లాక్ కార్డ్స్ అండ్ 2 రెడ్ క్వీన్స్ విచ్ మీన్స్ 28. సో బ్లాక్ అయి ఉండొచ్చు లేదా క్వీన్ అయి ఉండొచ్చు. Now, so probability is equal to, it is going to be so simple, it's like 28C1/52C1. అంటే నా టోటల్ అవుట్కమ్ మీరు చూసినట్టయితే 52 కార్డ్స్లో నేను ఒక కార్డ్ చూస్ చేసుకుంటున్నాను. టోటల్ అవుట్కమ్ అది. నా రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఏంటి అంటే 28లో ఒకటి మాత్రమే నాకు రావాలి. దానికి ప్రాబబిలిటీ ఏంటి అంటే 28/52. సో సింపుల్. Now let's see the next question. The card drawn is either king or queen. So excuse me, either king. So once again, either king or a queen అన్నది. either so king అవ్వచ్చు or a queen. Now so simple. ఈ 4 సూట్స్లో మనకి ఎన్ని కింగ్స్ ఉంటుందంటే ప్రతి సూట్కి ఒక కింగ్ ఉంటుంది. అంటే డైమండ్కి ఒక కింగ్, క్లబ్కి ఒక కింగ్, స్పేడ్కి ఒక కింగ్, హార్ట్కి ఒక కింగ్. ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ టోటల్ సూట్లో 4 సూట్స్లో కలిపితే 4 కింగ్స్ ఉంటుంది. అండ్ ఆర్ కింగ్ రావచ్చు లేదంటే క్వీన్ రావచ్చు. ఇన్ సచ్ కేస్ ప్లస్ దాన్ నా ఎన్ని కింగ్స్, ప్రతిదానికి కింగ్స్ ఉంటుంది. అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం క్వీన్స్ కూడా చూసుకున్నారంటే 4 ఉంటుంది. సో 4 ఎయిట్స్ ఇన్ ద సెన్స్ ఈ 8లో నాకు ఏదో ఒక కార్డ్ తీసుకుంటే చాలు, ఇది నా రిక్వైర్మెంట్. కానీ ఓవరాల్గా నేను 52లో ఒక కార్డ్ని చూస్ చేసుకుంటున్నాను. నా రిక్వైర్మెంట్ ఏంటంటే 8లో ఒకటి. సో P of E is equal to that's it, we can cancel and get the answer. So it's all about the procedure here. Now if you observe the next question, the card either is a heart or a queen or a king. I repeat, the card drawn is either a heart or a queen or a king. Now so నేను సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకునేది ఒక కార్డ్ మాత్రమే, కానీ ఆ ఒక కార్డ్ ఎందులో నుండి రావాలి అంటే సో హార్ట్ నుండి. హార్ట్ ఓకే, హార్ట్ అనేది ఒక సూట్. ఆ సూట్లో ఎన్ని కార్డ్స్ ఉంటుందంటే 13 కార్డ్స్ ఉంటుంది. ఆర్ ఇంకేం అడుగుతున్నారు, క్వీన్, లేదంటే క్వీన్ ఉండొచ్చు. సో ఆర్ అంటే ప్లస్. సో క్వీన్ అంటే ఏంటి మీరు చూసినట్లయితే, సో సి హార్ట్లో ఆల్రెడీ ఒక క్వీన్ ఉంటుంది, హిడెన్ క్వీన్. డోంట్ ఫర్గెట్ దిస్, హార్ట్లో ఆల్రెడీ ఒక క్వీన్ ఉంటుంది. ఓకే, హార్ట్ కాకుండా ఇంకా మిగతా 3 సూట్స్ ఏముంటుందో మీకు, క్లబ్, స్పేడ్, డైమండ్. అంటే వీఆర్ లెఫ్ట్ విత్ 3 more క్వీన్స్. ఇది క్వీన్స్. ఓకే, ఆర్ ఇంకేమంటున్నాడు, కింగ్. సో 52 కార్డ్స్లో నేను ఒక కార్డ్ మాత్రం చూస్ చేసుకుంటున్నా. నా ప్రాబబిలిటీ ఎంత ఉండాలి అంటే హార్ట్, లేదా నా కార్డ్ ఎలా ఉండాలంటే హార్ట్లో నుంచి ఉండాలి, అంటే హార్ట్ సూట్లో నుంచి ఉండాలి, లేదంటే క్వీన్స్ నుంచి అన్నా ఉండాలి, లేదంటే కింగ్ అన్నా అవ్వాలి. సో అప్పుడేంటి, సో ఈ 13లో ఆల్రెడీ ఒక క్వీన్ ఉంటుంది. సో ఐమ్ నాట్ గోయింగ్ టు మెన్షన్ 4 queens, ఎందుకంటే ఇది ఆల్రెడీ హార్ట్లో 13 కార్డ్స్, 13లో ఒక క్వీన్ ఉంటుంది కాబట్టి దాన్ని ఎక్స్క్లూడ్ చేసి హ్యావ్ టు రైట్ దిస్. అండ్ వెన్ ఇట్ కమ్స్ టు కింగ్, వన్స్ అగైన్ హార్ట్ అనే సూట్లో మనకు వీ ఆల్రెడీ హ్యావ్ వన్ పర్టికులర్ కింగ్. వీఆర్ లెఫ్ట్ విత్ a king that is from club, the king that is from diamond, a king that is from spade. So king kuda 3 kings untundi separate ga. So which means 16 and it's going to be 19. All right, so 13 heart cards and 3 queens, 3 kings. Remember 4 queens 4 kings kaadu. This heart already has 1 king and 1 queen. So na requirement entante ee 19 cards, ee 19 cards lo ఏ కార్డ్ వచ్చినా I'm going to be happy. So 19 లో నేను ఒక కార్డ్ మాత్రమే సెలెక్ట్ చేసుకుంటున్నా. సో నా టోటల్ ప్రాబబిలిటీ ఏమవుతుంది అంటే ఇట్ ఈస్ గోయింగ్ టు బి 19C1 by 52C1. Okay, 19C1 by 52C1. Alright, so if you observe, this is how when we choose one particular card, it is going to be easy for us to answer the questions. And if you ask me, is this the same question you get in the examinations? It depends. Oka card kadu, it might be 2 cards or 3 cards, which we will discuss in the tomorrow's class. And so far, when it comes to today's class, please go and practice the questions based on the concepts what we have learned today. And repeti class lo meer chusinattlaithe we will discuss how if 2 cards are drawn, 3 cards are drawn, 4 cards are drawn, E levels ani manam chudochu, difficulty levels, and then marble questions, and then the miscellaneous questions. If you have any doubts in today's class, please post it in the comment section. Thank you so much.
Hello students, this is a C language training program. Today I want to discuss with the structure with array, how to create the structure using arrays. The last session I discussed the structure and the nested structure I discussed. What is meant by structure? Structure is a collection of different type of elements. Structure is a collection of dissimilar data type elements, or structure is a collection of heterogeneous elements. Using one structure variable, different type of elements can store with the help of structures. Suppose if I want to represent with student details, actually students are consist with different details. Student ID integer type, student name is character string, student attendance float type. Every student represented different type of elements. Student ID integer, student name is character string, and attendance is float. If I want to represent the employee details, employee ID integer type, employee name character string, employee salary float data type. Suppose if I want to represent with item structure details, item number integer, item name character string, item rate float data type. What is the advantage of structure? One variable to store different type of elements, variety of elements. Array called as same type of elements, but structure called as different type of elements or dissimilar type of elements. What is meant by nested structure? A structure consists with another structure. A structure accessed with another structure is called as nested structure. What is the definition of nested structure? Every nested structure, two structures can be defined. One structure inside another structure. The first structure represents parent, second structure represents child structure. How to access the nested structure elements? With the help of two dot operators, two dots. Single structure elements are accessed with a single dot. Two nested structure elements are accessed with the two dots. The first dot represents parent, second dot represents child structure elements. Every structure, how many steps you have? Structure declaration, structure calling. Structure declaration before main function, structure calling inside main. How to declare the structure? Structure name, data type element 1, data type element 2, a collection of elements. Declaration ends with semicolon. Every structure declaration ended with semicolon. How to call the structure inside main? Structure, name of the structure and a variable of the structure. The variable of structure is also called as tag name. If I want to access the structure elements, tag name only to use, tag name to be represents. Structure is a user defined data type. We can mention our own elements, our own representations. But actually I discussed only for one structure variable can access only one record. If I create student structure, one student variable can enter. If I create employee structure, one employee details I enter. If I create item structure, one item can be entered. If I create book structure, one book can be defined. What is my discussion here? I want to create structure with array. What is meant by structure with array? Same structure elements I want to represent with the array variable. That means what? Multiple records I want to allow. If I want to enter 100 student details, structure with array. 100 employee details, structure with array. 100 books details, structure with array. What makes the difference of normal structure variable, array structure variable? Normal structure variable you can store only for one student details or one employee detail or one book details. But if I represent with a structure with array, multiple books details or multiple students or multiple employees, same type of data I want to allow. How to create a structure with array? You see the syntax. How to create structure with array? What is the syntax? You see the syntax of structure with array. How to create that? What is the syntax? Structure with array. Struct, name of the structure. After that, data type element 1, data type element 2, different type of elements to be represent. Every structure ended with semicolon, declaration ends with semicolon. Inside of main to call the structure, struct name, after that structure variable or tag name, structure variable or tag name. but this tag name identified with a square bracket. This square bracket indicates array. What is the syntax here? Struct, name of the structure, tag name. If I represent a without size, only one element can be entered. One student, one employee. This tag name consists only one record. If I want to represent multiple records, tag name with size. This square bracket indicates array, structure with array, and defined size, fixed size. If I want to read the elements with help of index variable, to read the structure array elements. How to read that? For index equal to 0, how to read the structure with array elements? Index starts with 0, index ended with size minus 1, index plus plus, index increments. How to read of that? Scanf. Inside of scanf, what to be mentioned? Format strings like %d, %s, %f, format specified strings. Ampersand symbol, tag name, structure variable, tag name. Within the square bracket, index, tag name of index dot element 1. Again similarly another element, tag name of index dot element 2. Like that you want to represent the elements, input the elements. What is the meaning of this syntax now? Listen. Index equal to 0, every array index starts from 0, every array index ends with size minus 1, index plus plus. After that, how to read the elements? Format specifiers, %d, %s, %f based on the elements. Ampersand symbol to be used, tag name. If I create the student structure, S is a tag name. After S, index. What is the index value? Initially starts 0, 0 dot, first element. Dot represents structure elements. Square bracket represents array. Dot represents structure elements. Similarly, remaining elements also I can enter. First reading of first employee record, next reading of second employee, next reading of third employee until size minus 1. Until size minus 1 to read the elements. Once you read the elements, how to print the elements? For index equal to 0, index less than or equal to size minus 1, index plus plus. The first for loop used to read structure array. The first for loop is used to read structure array elements, elements to be read. Next for loop indicates to print the structure elements, structure array elements to be print. Whatever elements already reading, that to be print. How to print off that? printf. Again format strings, %d, %f like this, format strings. Without ampersand symbol to print the elements. Tag name of index dot element 1. Similarly second one, tag name of index dot element 2, so on, so like this to use. Finally to end off the printf, finally close the main. What is the syntax of structure with array? You see that struct, name of the structure, different type of elements, group of elements. How to call that? Struct name, tag name called as short name of structure variable. This is the structure variable, tag name. After tag name, square bracket size. This is indication of array. Without square bracket, it represents only one structure elements. With square bracket to represent multiple records. How to read the structure array elements? Index equal to 0, index ends with size minus 1, index plus plus. How to read of the elements? Scanf. Format specifiers like %d, %s, %f. Ampersand symbol, tag name of index dot element 1. Similarly, tag name of index dot element 2. One more for loop is there, that is for print the elements. How to print the elements? Similarly, printf, format strings, tag name of index dot element 1. There is no ampersand symbol. Printf no ampersand symbol, just value printing. Tag name of index dot element 2. Similarly, print the elements. You see that one example I want to discuss using structure with array. What is my example? Check it. Suppose I want to create one structure. What is my structure here I want to create? What is my name of structure? Books. My structure name is books. Now I want to create the book structure. What are my elements of the books? Book structure elements. Book ID, ID of the book, and one more is book name, name of the book, and one more is price, price of the book. Now for the book ID, I want to enter the book ID details. Next I want to enter the book name details. Next I want to enter the price. Book ID, which type of data type to be represent? Book ID. Now this book ID, which type of type I want to mention? Integer type. This book ID represents integer type. This book name character string. This price is float. Now for the book ID, I make it as integer type. Book name, I make it as character type. And one more is book price, I represented as float type. Float can be used. But actually I am creating book structure with 3 elements. If I represented as tag name B, at that time only for one book details can enter. If I enter B of 3, what is the indication of B of 3? Structure with array. What is the representation of these? B is a tag name. B is a tag name. How much size? 3 size. I want to enter the 3 elements of the books. Each book ID should enter, each book name should be entered, each book price should be entered. 3 books details I want to enter. How to make of this program? How to enter the 3 books details? Suppose what is my first element? Book ID 10. What is my second element? Book name C language. What is my third element? Price 200. Next book 11. Next book ID 11. What is my book name? C++. What is my price? 250. Next book is 12. What is my book name? Oracle. What is my price? 300. Now here 3 books details I enter. Now these all will be stored at a books structure. How to read the first element? If I want to read with the first book elements, suppose I want to read this first book details I want to read. I want to read of this first book details. How to read of that? Actually, what is my structure name? Books. What is my variable? B. B of 3 size. But how to read of the first book detail? B of 0. Because of every index starts with 0. Every index value starts with 0. The index value starts with 0. That is a reason it is refer B of 0. Now I want to refer with the second book details. I want to read for 11, C++, 250. How to read of that? B of 1. I want to read of that B of 1. How to read of that elements? B of 1. If I want to read of the third book details I want to refer. How to read of that? B of 2. B of 2. The representation of third book details, B of 2. Finally, in this B of 3, 3 books I have. My structure name is books. My tag name is B. 3 books I want to read. Total size 3, 0 index starts, ended with the size -1. What is my size? 3. 3 minus 1, 2. Index starts from 0, ends with size -1, 2. How to read of the first element? If I want to read of the book ID, how to read of the book ID? If suppose I want to read this book ID. This book ID, how to refer? How to read of this book ID? B of this book ID, how to refer? B of 0 dot BID. If I want to read for the second element, I want to read for the book name. I want to read for the book name. Now this book name C language book available on first book only, B of 0 dot B name, 0 indicates first book. I want to read of the first book price, to represent of first book price. How to refer the first book price? Similarly, B of 0, B of 0 called as first book dot price, third element to be read. Finally, what is my conclusion? First book all details referred with the B of 0, B of 0 dot BID, B of 0 dot B name, B of 0 dot price. If I want to read for second book, B of 1, B of 1 dot ID, B of 1 dot name, B of 1 dot price. If I want to read the third book, B of 2 dot BID, 2 dot B name, 2 dot price. Similarly, to represent of these elements. Structure with array. How to create of this structure with array? Book structure with array. You see the program, how to create of that structure with array program, check it. What is my program? Write a program to demonstrate structure with array. I want to create structure with array. Hash include std io.h, hash include conio.h, console input and output. Now I want to create structure. Struct. What is my name of structure? Books. Name of the structure books. Book ID integer type. Book name. Book name is character string. Book name. It's a character string. Under float price of the book. Rate of the book. Inside of main to call the book structure. How to call that? Struct books. Original name books. What is my short name? B of 3. What is mean by B of 3? Indicates 3 books. Now I want to read the structure 3 books details. Declaration time only I want to enter. Equal to symbol. Equal to symbol represents assignment operator. Declaration of structure with array only, entering elements. Open flower. This is my main book. Inside of that again open flower. It's my first book. First book ID 10. First book name C language. First book price 200. Now I want to end of the first flower braces. Indicates B of 0. Now I want to enter for second book 11 C++ 250. This complete flower braces indicate second book B of 1. How to read the third book? 12. What is my book name? Oracle. Price is 300. This is my third book B of 2. Actual size B of 3, but I read only B of 0 book, B of 1 book, B of 2. Size -1. Close these. How to print off these elements? How to print off these elements? Already I inputted books details. Printf books list. Whatever books already inputted, how to see that? Books list. For loop. For loop to be represent. For. Now here to be declare I for index variable. For loop I equal to 0, I less than or equal to 2, I plus plus. Index ends with size -1. How to print off the details? Printf. First I want to print a book ID %d \t. \t for tab space. Book name equal to %s \t. Book price equal to %f \n. After printing of one book \n. Now here I want to print a book ID, first element \t tab space, next book name string \t tab space, same line. Price is %f, after that \n. Moving on next line. How to print off that? B of I dot BID, B of I dot B name, B of I dot price. What is meant by I? Indicates index variable, I for index. Now you see here I equal to 0, 0 less than 2, yes true, 0 is less than 2 true. Now I want to print a B of 0 dot BID. What is a B of 0? First book. What is the first book ID? 10. Next B of 0 dot book name C language, B of 0 dot price 200. Once I print off that I increments, I value increments. Now I is 1, b of 1 dot bid, I mean 11, b of 1 dot b name, c plus plus, b of 1 dot price, 250. Next I plus plus, b of 2 dot bid, I mean third book, 12, b of 2 dot book name, Oracle, b of 2 dot price, 300. After that 3 less than 2 false. Now this is the representation structured with array, 3 books I enter. Now I want to print off the detail, save. What is my name I used? struct3.c or struct4.c. struct4.c. Now I want to compile and run this program. struct4.c, struct4.c. If I inside of these, it's a comment line. If I print off that, you see the answer, book ID 10, book name C language, price 200, B of 0. Book ID 11, book name C++, price 250, it's a second book, B of 1. Book ID 12, book name is Oracle, price 300, it's a third book, B of 2. B of 0, B of 1, B of 2. Finally, what is my conclusion here? Structure with array. Whenever you create with a structure with array, if I want to represent a structure with array, one variable can store multiple records. Whenever you go for structure with array now, multiple records can be stored at one variable. Every structure with array, index value started from 0, ends with size minus 1. Ends with size minus 1. Index value increments. Now for the structure with array, multiple records can be read. You want to read the multiple records, then go for structure with array. Suppose I want to represent with a structure with array, I want to given the details. Which details I want to give here? I want to enter with the student details. Student structure details with array. I want to enter for 10 student details. 10 student ID, 10 student names, 10 student marks. Using 10 students, I want to calculate with the total, average, result. That is possible with the help of structure with the array to be processed. You see that how to create structure with array here, how it is working off. One more example to be created. What is my example now? Structure with the array. What type of structure I want to create? You see that what type of structure I want to create here. Whenever I want to go for this structure with array, check it. I want to define with student structure details. If I want to define student structure details to be defined, what is my name of the structure I want to define? Student. Name of the structure to be defined as student. Students is my structure S. S is my structure variable 5. 5 means 5 students. Structure with array. The name of structure student. Array name S. 5 size. Here I want to enter with student M1. Student M1. Mark 1 for the student. Mark 2 for the students. What are my elements? Mark 2 and Mark 3. Total to be calculated for the each student. Average to be calculated. Result to be calculated. These are the elements. Now in this representation, student M1, M2, M3 and total. These all are which type of elements? You can say integer type. These all first 4 elements are integer type. Next I want to create with average. Now the average is which type of element I want to represent? Float type. I want to represent the average float type. After that result. Result I want to represent it as which type? Character type. That means pass or fail. Is a student is pass or fail. Like this I want to create the student structure details with 5 students. Now in this student structure, marks to be input, total to be calculate, average to be calculate, result to be calculate. How to make of that program now? Check it. What is my program here? Structure. What is my program? Structure with the student details student details and evaluate, I mean calculate total comma average comma result details. Structure with array, student details, evaluate total average result. How to make of that? Hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h. Now I want to create with one structure, struct students, struct students, int m1, m2, m3, total, T for total, character res, result, res for result purpose, under float a for average, under float a for average. Inside of main, structure declaration ends with main, declaration ends with semicolon. Inside of main, struct students, struct student, original name students. What is my short name? S. S of 5. S of 5 means 5 students to be entered. Int I for index. Now I want to read with the student marks. First I want to read the student marks. Enter student marks. First I want to read the student marks. How to read that? For loop. I equal to 0, I less than or equal to 4, because my array size 5. That's why I less than or equal to 4. I plus plus, how to read the elements? Scanf. M1 mark is integer type %d, M2 mark is integer type %d, M3 mark is integer type %d. How to read of that? Ampersand S of I. S is the tag name of students, S of I dot M1, ampersand S of I dot M2, ampersand S of I dot M3. What is the meaning of this? S of 0 dot M1 first student mark, S of 0 dot M2 first student M2 mark, S of 0 dot M3 first student third mark. After that I plus plus, S of 1 dot M1, S of 1 dot M2, S of 1 dot M3, like that 5 student marks. After input that which to be calculated, S of I dot T, T for total, S of I dot M1 plus, S of I dot M2 plus, S of I dot M3, all marks to be added. How to find out average? S dot A equal to average, S of I dot T divided by 3, 3 subject marks, S of I dot T divided by 3, because of 3 subject marks I have, that's why you have to go for this. How to evaluate result? If condition is if S of I dot M1 greater than or equal to 40, S of I dot M2 greater than or equal to 40, and S of I dot M3 greater than or equal to 40. If all marks are above 40, I mean first student mark 1 is above 40, second student mark 2 is above 40, third student mark is above 40, then I want to calculate results. S of I dot R, S of I dot RES, RES for result equal to P, P for pass. S of I dot RES equal to P, P for pass. It's a character variable. Else, if it is not above 40, S of I dot RES equal to F, F for fail. It is fail. Finally, in this first I inputted the M1 mark, M2 mark, M3 mark, calculated the total M1 plus M2 plus M3, calculated average total divided by 3, calculated result pass or fail. Each mark is above 40, result is pass, else result is fail. Finally, to print all student details, printf students details, whatever details already inputted, that should be print. Again for loop, I equal to 0. Now this is for reading of the for loop. Next I want to use for printing the detail, I equal to 0, I less than or equal to 4, I plus plus. Because of here how many students? 5 students. I want to print the details, printf. I want to print the details, which I want to print? Total equal to %d. average equal to percentage f, result equal to percentage c, backslash n, new line to be called. After first student, backslash n. S of I dot t, t for total, S of I dot a for average, S of I dot res, result, 3 elements. Finally get ch to end of the main. See that. Now I want to save the program now. File save, structure 5.c, structure 5.c. If I run this program, check it, structure 5.c, struct 5.c. If I compile and run this, check it. Enter the student marks. If I enter the student marks 35, then 35, then 45. Next another student marks 45, 55, 65. Next another 3 student marks 76, 78, 89. Another 3 students marks 40, 24, 38. Another student marks 89, 90, 99. Totally 5 sets of students I giving. What is the first student total? 115, average 38, result is fail because of below 40, I have. Second student 165, average is 55, result is pass because of above 40. Third student also pass, above 40. Fourth student again fail because of below 40, average also below 40. Fifth student is pass because of average is above 40. Totally, what is my conclusion here? Whenever you are working with a structure with array, whenever you are working with a structure with array, if I created with 100 student marks, if I inputted 100 students marks, first I want to read the 100 student marks with the for loop. After reading of 100 students marks, calculated the total based on the expression S of I dot m1 mark 1, S of I dot m2 mark 2, S of I dot m3 mark 3. After calculation of total, average to be evaluated, S of I dot average equal to S of I dot total divided by number of subjects, 3 subjects. After calculation of that, result to be calculated. How it is evaluated result? If each subject mark is above 40, then I want to store the past result. If any student mark is below 40, then I want to print the result fail. Inside of for loop, S of I dot m1 greater than or equal to 40, S of I dot m2 greater than or equal to 40, S of I dot m3 greater than or equal to 40. If all marks are above 40, S of I dot result equal to pass, P for pass. If all marks, any mark is below 40, the result is fail. If any mark is below 40, result to comes fail. But these all expressions to be calculated inside of for loop. What is the indication of I here? Index. Structure with array, index value started from 0, index ended with size minus 1, index increments. Like that you have to go for structure with array process. Now I want to discuss with one more example, structure with array only, one more example, one more calculation. You see one more example, structure with array, how it is create a structure with array, one more example, see the program. What is my program? Another thing, write a program to demonstrate, items structure, items details, item structure with array. I want to create item structure with array. How to create that? Hash include std io.h, hash include conio.h. Now I want to create with struct items. Items is a structure. I want to define with item id, item number, integer type, character, item name, it's a string type. After that float, under float I used rate of the item, quantity of the item. I want to evaluate price and I want to evaluate discount, I want to evaluate bill. but these all are for which type of elements? Float elements. Item number integer type, item name is character string, rate, quantity, price, discount, bill, all elements are float type. Every structure declaration ended with semicolon. Inside of main struct, how to call that? Struct items, struct items, it is a variable, it of 5 indicates 5 items I want to enter. Structure with array, 5 items I want to enter. Int I for index. How to read off that? Printf enter items details. I want to enter the item details. How to read off that? For I equal to 0, I less than or equal to 5 minus 1, 4, I plus plus. How to read off the details here? Scanf. What is my first to be read? Item number %d. Next I want to read item name %s. Next I want to read rate %f, quantity %f. Remaining should be calculated. Ampersand it of I dot item number, it of I for index. Ampersand it of I dot item name, ampersand it of I dot rate, ampersand it of I dot quantity. These to be input. Here I inputted with item number, item name, item rate, item quantity. How to print off that? It of I dot t total price, it of I dot total price or price. Here I used with price equal to it dot it of I dot rate into it of I dot quantity, I for index. After that it of discount, it of I dot discount equal to it of I dot total price or price into 0.10. it of I dot bill equal to it of I dot which I want to use? Price minus discount, it of I dot discount, like this to be calculated. Finally, to print the answers of each item I want to print the answers. Printf, I want to print only bill, just I want to print only final bill for all items, final bill %f. Remaining also print it of I dot bill. Close that, close the values, get ch to end of that. File new save. What is my name I used? Structure 6.c, structure 6.c. Item structure with array, structure 6.c. Now I want to enter item number 1, item name something, rice. Here you are getting one error, floating point error, abnormally terminate. I mean floating points not linked here, floating values not linked. That is the reason I changed the integer type, because here floating values not linked. That is the reason integer type I changed. Otherwise you can give off the float also. %d side giving, because of all our integers I define %d. Floating points are not linked, that is the reason. 1 rice. What is the rate? 40 rupees per kg, 3 kgs. Bill is 108. That means 40 into 3. 120 and percentage of discount also it will be there. Next to it will be there. Item name is sugar and 55 kgs. Bill is 225. Actually 250, but it is without discount. With the discount it will be added these 3 and item name and quantity, and one more item, 4 soap, item name soap, and rate is 52 soaps, and one more item nuts, here actually item number and item name. Totally 5 items I inputted, these 5 items, but these all I defined as integers. You can enter the details. Now you see, now I want to create with a copied structure. Under structure with array only, copied structure I want to define. Write a program to demo copied structure. How to copy the structure? One structure elements copy to another structure. I am creating one structure, that structure I want to copy to another structure. How to copy the structured elements? Struct. I am creating with something, any structure, employee. Inside of that employee ID and employee name, just 2 elements. Employee ID, employee name, just 2 elements. Otherwise, here I used with the int department number. One more is department name. Now I want to create with this is struct employee. These are the elements. After that, inside of main. Now I want to create with struct. What is the name? Employee. What is my first variable? D1. Under D1 I enter the detail. Department number 10. Department name is sales. This is my D1. Now I creating one more variable D2. D2 variable. Actually D1 variable, D1 structure variable I enter 2 elements, but D2 structure variable I declare, but there is no elements. What is my request? Under D2 I want to copy from D1. D2 elements expected from D1. Copied structure. How to copy of these? D2 dot dno equal to D1 dot dno. How to copy the string? String copy. D2 dot dname comma D1 dot dname. First department name copy to second one. Printf. I want to print the second D2 details. Copied structure details. How to print off that? Department number %d, department number %d, department name %s. How to print off that? D2 dot department number, D2 dot department name, which is already inputted for D1. Those elements copy to D2. Same elements copy to D2. One more header file also I use, hash include string.h. String.h also I used. Save the program. I want to use for struct 7.c. I want to compile and run this program. Struct 7.c. Copy the elements. Struct 7.c. One structure elements copy to another structure. What is the D2 details? Department number 10, department name sales. Just I make a space, \n. Here I want to make a space, \n. D1 details copy to D2. Now see, now in the structure, which structures I discussed? The today session already I discussed the structures. Which are the structures I discussed? One is for structure with array, how to create structure using array variable, and one more I discussed the copied structure, how to copy one structure elements into another structure. Now the today session I discussed with the structure with array, how to create structure elements with array variable, and one more is how to copy the structure, one structure elements copy to another structure. How to copy one structure elements into another structure? What is the formula to be used? Second structure element equal to first structure element. First you have to create 2 variables. You have to create with the 2 variables. Second structure element equal to first structure element, or second structure tag name equal to first structure tag name. Then only you can copy the elements. Finally, the today session I discussed a structure how to create with array variables, and how to copy one structure elements into another structure. That discussions are completed now. Today topic is completed. Then tomorrow session I started with how to make a structure using functions. How to make a structure using function variables. In the next session I discussed. Thank you for this video. Hello viewers, this is C language training program. Today I want to discuss with how to create a structure using functions. How to define the structure using functions. The last session I discussed how to create structure with arrays and how to copy the structure, one structure elements, how to copy to another structure, that I discussed. How to define the structure. It's a collection of different type of elements with a single variable is called as structure. Structure is a user defined data type. What is meant by structure with array? How to create multiple records using one structure variable, that is possible with the help of arrays. How to create multiple records with a single variable, that is possible with the help of structure using arrays. If I want to enter the one student details, student ID, student name, student marks, one student details means one structure variable enough. But if I want to store 100 students details, like 100 student IDs, 100 student names, 100 student marks, how to store of that 100 student details? With the help of arrays, structure using arrays. If I want to store with one item details, item number, item name, item range, you can create only one structure variable. But if I want to create with multiple item details, many items, many item names, many item prices, and list of the bills, that is possible with the help of structure using arrays. And one more I discussed copied structure. Copied structure. What is meant by copied structure? One structure variable copy to another structure variable. Every copied structure, how many variables require? Two structure variables. What is the syntax of copied structure? First we denote the second structure variable equal to first structure variable. Target structure variable equal to source structure variable. Then only you can copy the structure array elements. One more structure also I discussed, nested structure. Nested structure also I completed. What is meant by nested structure? A structure called with another structure definition is called as nested structure. Every nested structure, how many structure elements to be defined? Two structures to be defined, at least two structures. More than two also you can define. The first created structure variable called as outer structure variable. Second created structure variable or tag is called as child structure variable or inner. How to access the one structure elements? Tag name dot elements, single dot to be used. If you want to access the nested structure elements, how to access that? Two dots, two dot operator to be used. First you have to mention the parent tag, dot child tag, dot elements. Then only you have to refer the elements. Now today I want to discuss with how to create the structure using functions. Now the function already I discussed. Function is nothing but named block or predefined program. Now the C language function how to create? Three steps are there. C programming language user defined function created 3 steps: function declaration, function calling, function definition. What is meant by function declaration? You can announce the function. Before main, you can announce the function. What is meant by function calling? Once you declare the function to be called inside main to call the function. What is one more type of step you have? Function definition. After the main, you can explain the function body or definition of function. Every user defined function 3 steps are there: declaration of function, calling of the function, definition of the function. But which steps are compulsory steps? Definition compulsory to write, calling of the function compulsory to write. Which is the optional step? Declaration of function. Before main, function declaration is optional. Without declaration also directly call the function, without declaration also directly define the function. But in generally function created no return no arguments, no return with arguments, with return with arguments. What is meant by no return? Void. No arguments means no values pass. What is the second model of function? No return, I mean void, with arguments. You pass some arguments. Suppose if I want to add the numbers, how many arguments to be passed? 2 arguments. What is one more method? Return type with arguments. Suppose if I add the 2 integers, your answer also which data type? Integer. Return type should be integer. Every return type function must return single answer. But these types of functions calling only normal arguments, built-in data type arguments. The function with arguments calling built-in data type arguments. But now I want to discuss with the function calling what type of argument? Structure type of argument. Generally normal function calling with the normal argument. What is meant by normal argument? Integer type, character type, float type, built-in type arguments. But now I want to discuss function calling with the user defined data type arguments. Which are the user defined data type? Structure. Now I want to access with the function with the structure arguments. Why you have to go for functions? Reusability, I mean same function many areas can be called. Repetition of coding is avoided. Portability, easy to transfer one program to another program, and easy to maintain the coding with the help of functions. Modularity, heavy lines of code splitting into small piece of code with the help of functions. Now how to create a structure with help of function argument? How to create that? But every structure function argument 2 steps only enough. Declaration not required. Function calling should be there, function definition should be there. Inside of main what to be called? Structure variable to be called. After main what to be explained? Function body to be explained. You see the syntax of that, how to create a structure with function. Now you see the syntax. What is the syntax of structure with a function? How to create a structure with a function? What is the syntax of that, how to make structure with function? First I want to take with the main function. First I want to create structure. Struct name, inside of name data type elements. Every structure defined with a different type of elements. Now the structure ends with semicolon. Inside of main. Inside of main I want to define the function name. Inside main call the function. Now in this function I want to call the what to be called? Structure tag name to be called. How to call the structure tag name? Struct name of the structure, tag name, short name. Now when I call the function, now this function accessing what type of argument? Tag name, structure argument. Now the step is called as function calling with structure arguments. After that, explain the body. How to explain the body? Void function name, explain the body. Now your tag name is which type of tag name? Structure type, struct name, tag name. Now when I call this tag name, this is called as actual argument. When I make a body of structure, this tag name called as formal argument. Inside of that, some set of statements, execution of statements. Now this is the steps to be followed. How to make a structure using function. How to make a structure with function? Structure, name of the structure, data type, elements, element 1, element 2. These are the different type of elements. Once I declare the structure, semicolon should be end. Inside of main, how to call the structure? Struct, name of the structure, tag name. Tag name called as our defined variable, user defined variable. Inside of main, I want to call the function with the structure argument, function name. Now in the bracket, which to be called? Tag name. This tag name refer to structures. This tag name refer to structures, actual. After main, explain the body of function, function name. Now your tag name is which type? Structure type, struct name, tag name, and body of statements. This is the syntax of structure with the function. Every structure with function, 2 steps are there. Now this step, only 2 steps. This step is called as function calling, structure function calling. This step is called as structure function calling. This step is called as structure function definition or body. Structure function definition or body. How to make of this structure with function? 2 steps are required. Now I want to explain one simple program. How to create structure with function? One simple program, check it. What is my program name? Write a program to demonstrate structure using function. I want to display structure using function. Display the details using function. How to make of that structure using function? Here, hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h. Now I want to define with the struct keyword, structure creation. What is my structure name? Books. Books is my structure. Now under books, what is my details? Book ID, integer type, character, book name. It is for character string. Book name, it's a character string, 20 size. Again one more variable, character author name of the book, string type. What is one more variable I define? Float, price of the book or rate of the book. Every structure declaration ended with semicolon. Totally in this book structure, how many elements I have? 4 elements. Book ID, book name, author name, price. Now inside main, I want to call the structure. Inside main to call the structure. How to call that? Struct books. Struct books. What is my variable I used? BK. Now here BK called as what? Tag name. BK called as tag name for books. Equal to assignment operator. Enter the details of books. What is my first element? Book ID, integer type, book ID 1. What is my second element? Book name. It is called as string. I want to enter the book name, C language. Now I want to enter the author name. What is my author name? Rich, RITCHE, Rich, author name I used. After that I want to enter with the price of the book 180. Now these all elements stored under which tag name? BK. BK for books, book structure details. But these details I want to print with the function. These details I created under main, but I want to print with the functions. What is my function? Display. Display is our defined function, user defined. Now what is the syntax of structure with function? Display, call the structure tag name. What is my structure tag name? bk. bk is a structure tag name variable. Now I want to get the getCH to get the answer main. Now I want to explain the body void. What is my name of the function should be explained? Display. Display is a actual function. Now for the display, which type of argument? Structure type, struct. What is my original books? What is my tag name? bk, short variable. Now this display function calling with the structure variable. How to print off that structure variable elements? Printf. I want to print a book ID %d, book ID %d. How to print that? b. Now in this statement, bk called as tag name of books. Dot is the reference operator, bid, book ID element. I want to print the book name equal to percentages. How to print that? bk.bname. I want to print with author name, author details, percentages, bk.author name, author details. I want to print with one more detail, price or rate of the book, %f, percentage point 2f, 2 points, point 2f, bk dot price. Finally close the function body. Now see in this example program, observe what is my name of the structure? Books. Books is my structure. What are the elements of books? Book ID, book name, author name, price. These are called as elements of book structure or data members. Data members of books. How to enter the details? Struct books, original structure, short variable bk. Inside of bk, I want to store the 4 elements, different type. Book ID integer type, C language book name string, rich is author name string, 180 float. But these all elements are referred with bk. Now I want to print these details not in the main function. I don't want to print these details under main function. Inside of our function I want to print display. Display is our defined function, display. What type of argument I called bk? bk for structure variable tag name, your variable as a structure tag. Now I want to explain the body void, no returns, display. Your argument is bk, structure argument variable, struct books, it is original name, bk is a short name. Now this bk also tag name. How to print the id? bk.bid. How to print the name? bk.bname. How to print the author name? bk.author name. bk called as structure tag. bid book name, author name elements. bk.price, print the details. Now I want to compile this program. Now I want to compile this, check it. File save, struct. Here I saved with struct8.c. Struct8.c. Turbo C editor, I want to open this program. Struct8. The program name is struct8. Structure with function I used. What is my name of the function I used? Struct8.c. If I compile that and if I run this, here you see display function. Actually display function there is no any returns. Display I used just a display. You see the answer. Book ID 1, book name is C language, author name rich, price is 180. Actually these details you are inputted under main. Under main you are inputted, but these details printed on which function? Display. This display function calling which type of argument? Books, structure type of argument. How to check off that step by step? This program how to trace off step by step? F7 button, trace the program. If I press the F7, cursor waiting at main. If I press the F7 again, cursor waiting at struct books. BK, reading of elements. If I press F1, F7, clear screen. Which line is calling? Display, our created function. BK, book details. Sending to the function body. Inside of function body, bk.bid, I mean 1. bk.bname, C language. bk.author name, rich. bk.price, 180. Come back to the main, get ch. Finally, how it is working off step by step. F7 button to be used, F7. Now, in this program, which is my function name? Display. Function name is display. Which is my structure name? Books. Which is my tag name? BK. What type of elements I created? Integer type, character type, again character, again float. Now, this integer type, how much memory creates? 2 bytes. Now, for the character book name, 20 size means 20 bytes, because of each character 1 byte. Author name also each character 1 byte. How much memory creates? 20 bytes. Float, float is price, float is 4 bytes. Totally for this structure, how much memory created? 2 bytes plus 20, 22 bytes plus 20, 42 bytes plus 4. Totally how much memory occupied for this structure? One book for 46 bytes. 46 bytes memory created. Finally, what is my conclusion of this? How to create a structure using functions? First, you have to declare the structure. First, you have to declare the structure before main. Once you declare the structure, inside main to call the structure. Inside main to call the structure. How to call inside the main? Function name. Within the function to call the argument. Which type of argument to be called? Structure tag name to be called. Once you call the structure tag name, then to explain the function body or definition of the function. In this function body, what you are explaining? Structure elements you are printing. Structure tag name elements you are printing. Every structure with function, declaration not required, definition required, calling is required. What is the need of structure with functions? Easy to maintain the coding, because through main you call the functions, subprograms or submodules. Easy to maintain the coding. Coding is less, and wherever you require you can call the function with the help of structures. Now, I want to create with how to work with structure using array as well as functions. Structure can be created using array as well as functions also. Structure created array, structure created function, both are under single program also use, based on our requirement to use of this. You see that how to create structure using array and functions. How to create that structure using array and functions. Suppose I want to create with what is my syntax now? Structure using array and function. Using array and function. First, I want to create with structure. Structure, name of the structure, structure name. Inside of the data type element 1, inside of the data type element 2, list of elements. After that, inside main, now I want to call with structure, I want to call with structure, name of the structure, tag name. Name of the structure, tag name, but square bracket. Within the square bracket, what to be mentioned? Size. Now, this is structure with array because of tag name with size. If I mention without size, one record only enter. If I mention with size, multiple structure records can enter. Structure with array. How to call that? I used function name. Inside of function, first to be called tag name, what type of structure tag, and the next what to be called size, the size of variable, size variable to be defined, and minimum 2 arguments. One is for tag name, another one is size, structure with array. Now after that I want to explain the body. Function name, structure, name of the structure, and tag name, which is the original tag. But here you want to pass with a square bracket. Your tag name passed with a square bracket. Here you have to declare square bracket. What is the indication of square brackets? Array. After that size, int size. Any structure array size is integer. Some set of statements like this to be used. Now in this syntax observe. First structure declaration. After structure declaration, the structure should be create array, I mean multiple records with size, tag name with size. After that, function to be called. Now these array elements I want to print with function. Function name, tag name, that is array name, comma size, how many elements to access. Inside after main, function body to be explained. Struct name, tag name, square bracket. This square bracket indicates array, structure array, into size, size of elements. This is the method to be called. You see some example program how to create a structure with array and function. Write a program to demonstrate structure to be create structure with array using function. Function also use. Structure also there, array also there, function also there. Hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h, conio.h. After that, structure to be create, structure. What is my name of structure? Bank. Bank is my name of structure. Int account number details. After that character, customer name, bank customer details, customer name. After that int balance amount, balance, 3 elements. What is my name of structure? Bank. Bank is a name of structure. Account number integer type, customer name is string type, 20 size, balance is integer type. Now inside of main, now I want to call the structure. Inside of main, struct. What is my original structure? Bank. What is my tag name? B. B is a tag, B of 3. What is meant by B of 3 here? B is a tag name, B for bank. How many bank customers? 3 customers, size is 3. This is structure with array, size is 3. I want to enter the elements here. What is my first element? Account number 100. Customer name Shiva customer, and for the balance is 12,000, comma, again another customer 101 Neha, balance is 10,000. One more customer to be entered, 102, name is Kiran, and for the balance is 5,000. Totally 3 customer details to enter. Now for this is for first bank customer, B of 0. B of 0 account number, B of 0 customer name, B of 0 balance. Next this is B of 1. B of 1 account number, B of 1 dot name, B of balance. This is third customer, B of 2. Account number, B of 2, B of 2 name, B of 2 balance. Now I want to call these details with function. What is my function? Display. I want to make a function display, but this display function, what type of argument I want to call? B. B for bank. B for bank, tag name, comma 3. 3 is the size. 3 is the fixed size. What is the mean that bank details 3 size? Get CH to end of the main. Now I want to explain the display. What is my original structure? Structure bank, B of square bracket, int x or int n, n for size. What is the mean that B for bank? Now this square bracket indicates array, and this n indicates size. Actually is 3, formal is n, size is 3. Now I want to print the details of bank customers. Bank customer details. I want to print bank customer details. how to print off that for loop to be used. How to print off the details for loop. Int I for index, with help of index variable only to print. I equal to 0, I less than or equal to 2, I plus plus. Because of my size is 3, 0 to 2, 0 starts, 2 to be end. How to print off the details? First I want to print account number %d, \t, customer name percentages \t, balance is %f \n. After printing of one elements \n, one record. How to print off the detail? B of I dot, I for index, account number, B of I dot customer name, B of I dot balance. These are the details to print. Close the for loop, close the function. Finally, in this program, which is my structure name is bank. In this structure, which are the elements? Account number, customer name, balance. And for this, how many customers? 3 customer. B of 3 is a bank structure with array. B is a array, 3 size. Display is a function. Bank customer 3 details to be called. But those details are printing under separate function display. Here I want to print the detail I equal to 0, I for index, I less than or equal to 2, I plus plus, because my size is 3. How to print off that? B of I dot account number, B of I dot customer name, B of I dot balance. Here I equal to 0, I less than or equal to n also use. N already how much value calling? 3 will be calling. I mean n minus 1, like that also calling. You see that when I save this program, struct9.c, struct9. I want to compile this program now. Struct9, compile the program. Struct9, structure with array I have and function also there. Structure with array and function. You see that when I run this, actually here floating point error will be there. I mean this is a floating points not linked. That is the reason I taken with integer. Actually here there is no float, everything is integer only. Sorry, here balance is not float, integer, %d. I want to print off the details. You see the answer coming. How many customer details? 3 customer. Account number 100, customer name Shiva, balance 12,000. It's B of 0. Account number 101, customer name Neha, balance 10,000. It's B of 1. Account number 102, customer name Kiran, balance 5,000, B of 2. Totally how many bank customers I enter? 3 bank customers. Those details are printed with the help of functions. You see that now in the previous program, just now I explained the program. In this program, which structure I created? Bank structure I created. Now for the bank structure, how many customer details I entered? 3 customer details I entered. Under these 3 customer details, I want to print the answer values with the help of functions. Which function I created? Display. Now for the display function, which to be called? Structure tag name to be called, and second argument is size. I mean your structure, how many elements to access, how many records to access, that is indicates the size. After calling of the function, explain the body. While explanation of body, what to be mentioned? Structure and the function body. Structure name, original name, and actual tag name, short name, comma int size, that means your array size. With the help of structure with array and function to print the elements. Now actually in the real time scenario, sometimes you want to call the structure using function. Sometimes you want to apply the business logic, structure with array and functions. What makes difference of structure with function? Structure array function. What makes difference of structure function? Structure array function. Structure function, one record detail only calling. Structure array function, multiple record details can be called with the help of functions. structure with function, two steps you have, that is for calling and definition. Declaration not required. Structure with array function, also two steps, that is for calling and definition. But definition time what to be mentioned? Your tag name identified with the square bracket. The square bracket indicates size of array. After that how many elements you want to enter, how many records, that to be represented. Now I want to discuss with one more example, that is also how to create a structure only with help of functions. In the previous example I discussed structure with function, single function I create. Structure using function, single function. But structure with function, multiple function also define. Multiple function also you can use with help of structure. You see that how to create that structure, function, multiple definitions. How to create structure with function with multiple definitions. Now I want to take with one simple example program. What is my program? Write a program to demonstrate structure. I want to define structure with multiple functions. Previous program just a single function I executed, but here I want to run multiple functions. I want to define structure with multiple functions. Hash include std io.h, hash include conio.h. Now I want to create with one structure, struct. What is my name of the structure? Employee, employee structure. Employee ID, integer type. Employee name, it's a string type, 10 size. Employee salary, integer type, totally 3 elements. Employee salary, integer type, totally 3 elements, and one more element also I defined, float. Under float DA, DA for driving allowance or daily allowance, HRA house rent allowance, PF for provident fund. These I want to calculate. Now I want to go for main function. Inside main I want to call the structure employee. What is my tag name? E. E called as structure tag name. Employee tag name is E. Original structure name is employee, tag name is E. E belongs to for employee details. I want to enter employee details. E1 I giving employee details, scanf method. Scanf method I want to enter. Previously directly assignment operator method I enter, but here scanf method. Enter employee details. Scanf method I want to input the details. Which details I want to enter here? Scanf. What I want to read? Percentage D, I mean employee number ID. Percentage S, employee name. Percentage D, integer salary. Ampersand E1.EID, address of E1.EID. Ampersand E1.EName. Ampersand symbol. Ampersand E1.EName. Ampersand E1.salary. E1.salary. I am creating E1 structure, enter the details, employee ID, employee name, employee salary. After input that, I want to call one function. One function I want to call CALC, calc function. What is my function name? Calc function I have. Now this calc function calling with E1, E1 variable. Calc function calling with E1 variable, E1 details to be called. Inside of that E1, now I want to getting with get ch. Here I used with get ch. And one more function also I calling here separately. Which function I have? Display, output details, E1. 2 times E1 I have. Calc of E1, display of E1. Now I want to call with calc. I want to call with the calc. What is my function body to be right? Struct, structure name employee E1, structure name employee E1. Now here I want to calculate the details. E1 dot DA, E1 dot DA equal to E1 dot salary into 0.10, 10%. E1 dot HRA equal to E1 dot salary into 0.15. E1 dot PF equal to E1 dot salary into 0.13. I want to print the details here, printf. But instead of this, I want to print the details later with the help of which function? Display. Under calc function, just calculation part. Now one more function, display. Under display, I want to call this E1. How to call that? Structure emp E1. And inside of E1, I want to print the details. Printf DA equal to percentage of backslash n, HRA equal to percentage of backslash n, PF equal to percentage of backslash n, float to be print. E1 dot DA, E1 dot HRA, E1 dot PF. These are my outputs expected. Now you see in this program you observe, in this program you have, what is my structure? Employee structure, elements are ID, name, salary. These are my inputs. I am calculated with DA, HRA, PF. Inside of main I want to call the E1 structure variable, E1 to be called. Under main I want to call calc function, calc of E1 structure variable. Inside of calc function calculation, E1 dot DA, daily allowance, E1 dot HRA, E1 dot PF, calculation, DA for 10%, HRA 15, PF is 13. Separately display function I want to print. Under display function I want to print the details. DA value print, E1 dot DA, E1 dot HRA, E1 dot PF, get CH. Now I want to save this program now. Struct, what is my name? 10.c, struct 10.c, struct 10.c I used. Now I want to compile this program. Struct 10.c, 10.c, struct 10.c program I created this. Then I want to call, enter employee details, employee number 1, employee name Suman, employee salary 12,000, employee salary 12,000. But here the problem is coming, DA, HRA, PF, I think it's a float problems we have. Here you want to change with integer type and you can calculate the values. Integer type and you can calculate the values. Now here I go for integers. These are used with integer. Integers I used, then I want to calculate the values. E1 dot DA, E1 dot HRA, E1 dot PF. After that here also I want to print off that percentage D's, everything is percentage D to be print, percentage D value, integer to be print. It's warning to you. 1, employee name Manoj and employee salary 12,000. Now the values will be getting. But listen, actually in this program I am calling with I am inputting under main just ID, name and salary. But when I call the calc function, E1 variable, which values only sending there? ID, name, salary only sending there. ID, name, salary only sending. Now here E1 dot DA, E1 dot HRA, E1 dot PF is calculated. After that display function, under display you are printing the details. Suppose in the same if I use with the calc function only, I want to calculate with the values, I want to print the values. Now here under this only I want to print the details. Here I want to print without display function, just directly I am printing the details. Directly single function only I can print the details. Single function only I can print the details. You see that 1 Ravi and 5,000. What is the answer? 500, 749, PF 650. That means under this calc function only I am passing the number, name and salary and calculated DA, HRA, PF, and there only I print. Otherwise separate display function also I can print. But at the display function printing time you have to pass for all elements, because calc you are calculated only DA, HRA, PF. If I want to print off all details, these all elements to be sent to another function, then only you can print. Finally, what is my conclusion now? Now this program which I discussed, how to create a structure, how to create the structure using function. But how many functions I define? Multiple functions. Structure can be defined multiple functions also. The first function called as calc function I used, second function called as display function I used. Under calc function, calculation will be there. Under display function, to display the outputs, display the details. What is my important point here? Under one main function, structure functions, many functions can be called based on the requirement. Many functions can be defined. Syntax is same, function name calling as a structure tag name, again another function also calling as a structure argument. Finally, today class I discussed with the structure with the function how to define. Every structure with function, 2 steps you have, calling and the definition. And now today class one more discussion also I completed, that is structure, array and functions. How to create the structure using array argument, using functions. But structure function also, structure with array function also, what is the difference? Structure function one record only sending, structure with array argument function multiple records are sending. But anyway both are for accessing for functions. The syntaxes are similarly to run this. In the today class I discussed these complete discussions about structures and functions, and the tomorrow session I can continue for structures with pointer also use, and structure related one more is there, union data type. Structure related one more data type is there, user defined data type, union data type. The data type in the tomorrow class I discussed. Thank you for this video. Hello students, welcome to C language training program. Today I want to discuss with the union data type. Union is a user defined data type. The last sessions I discussed structure data types and how to create a nested structure and structure with function, structure using arrays. What is meant by structure? It is called as user defined data type. It is a collection of different type of data members. Array is a collection of similar type of data members, but structure is a collection of different type of data members. Every structure variable you can store different type of elements. Every array variable you can store same type of elements. Array is a collection of homogeneous elements, structure is a collection of heterogeneous elements. Now every structure declared with the struct keyword, name of the structure. Within the block you can mention some different type of elements. Structure ends with semicolon. Once a declaration of structure, how to call the structure inside main, struct, name of the structure, after that tag name. Struct, name of the structure, tag name to be used. How to access the structure elements? Dot operator to be used. What is meant by nested structure? A structure inside another structure is called as nested structure. The nested structure elements are accessed with 2 dot operators. How to make a structure using arrays? Generally, if I make a structure variable, you can store only one record. But if I want to store multiple records with one structure variable, it is called as structure using arrays. The last session I discussed structure functions. What is meant by structure function? If I want to access the structure elements with the help of function. every structure function to create two steps. One is for structure function calling, another one is structure function definition. Definition also define. Calling function inside main, definition after the main. Now today I want to discuss with the union data type. What is meant by union? Union is similar to structure. Union also similar to structure. Union is also collection of different type of elements. Structure is collection of different type of elements. Union also collection of different type of elements. But what is the difference? Structure, each element stored at a separate memory address. The compiler allocated each element a separate memory address. But when you go for union, all union elements stored at a single address. What is the major difference? Structure elements, each element separate memory can store. If I have three elements, first element separate address, second element is another address, third element is another address. Compiler allocated addresses are different. But in the case of union, all union elements stored at one common address. In mathematics also union is there. What is meant by union? Combination. Like A union B. A is one set, B is one set. A union B called as A set all elements plus B set all elements, combinedly displayed. Coming to the union, all union elements stored at a common address, single address. How to create the structure? Struct keyword, name of the structure, different type of elements. Similarly, how to create union? Union keyword, name of the union, different type of elements. Structure declaration ended with semicolon. Union declaration also ended with a semicolon. Structure statement calling inside main. Union statement also calling inside main. How to call the union tag? Union, name of the union and tag name. Tag name to be used, it is called as variable. Finally, what is the difference majorly? Structure, each element separately stored memory wastages. But union, all elements stored at a single address, memory bytes saved. If I want to save the memory bytes, union is better, union is recommended. If I want to store the structure, all elements are different type of locations, then you recommended structures. Structure also user defined data type, union also user defined data type. Structure elements how to access? Dot operator. Union elements also how to access? Dot operator. Structure elements access to dot, union elements also access to dot. You see that what is the syntax of union? How to make union? What is the syntax? How to make a union? What is the syntax of that union? Union is a keyword, name of union. Inside of the block data type elements 1, data type element 2, different type of elements. Every union declaration ended with semicolon. Inside of main to call the union variable, union, name of the union, tag name, union, name of the union, tag name. How to access the union elements? Union elements how to access? With the dot operator only to access. Union elements accessed with the dot operator. Structure member elements also accessed with the dot. Union elements also accessed with the dot operator. With the dot only to access, dot operator. How to access that? Tag name dot element 1 equal to value. Similarly, tag name dot element 2 equal to value. Tag name dot element 1, tag name dot element 2 equal to value. Similarly to close. Now this is the syntax of union creation syntax. You see that union is a keyword, name of union. When you go for structure, struct is a keyword, name. Instead of struct keyword union, data type elements, different type of elements. When you go for structure also, different type of elements. Structure declaration ended with semicolon, union declaration also ends with semicolon. Inside of main to call the union, name of the union, tag name called as short name, the variable. How to access union elements? Using dot operator, even structure also dot operator use. Tag name dot element equal to value, tag name dot element equal to value. Now you see how it is make a difference of structure and union. I want to explain one diagram method, check it. What is the difference of structure and union? How to make of that? See that. Suppose I want to create with one structure. I want to define one structure now. I want to create one structure here. You see that what is my structure? Student. My structure is student structure. Inside of student structure, what is my elements? Student ID. What is one more element? Student name. One more element, marks. Totally 3 elements I have. Student ID, student name, marks. Now I want to create with the student ID actually which type of data type? Integer type. Student ID, it is referred to integer type, and student name is character type. Now this is referred integer type. Student ID referred as integer, and student name, it is referred as character. Now I want to go for integer type. After that I want to refer with the student name as a character type. Now I want to refer, this is character type. Now I want to define with another type, marks. Now I want to define the marks. Now the marks are which type of data type I define? Float, or the marks can be used as integer also. Now for this student ID integer type, student name is character type, marks are integer type. Now I want to store the elements here. Suppose student ID and student name and marks. Now if I enter the student ID 1, my input is 1. If I enter student name XYZ name, if I enter the marks 400, if I enter the marks are 400. Now for the student ID 1, internally compiler created memory. Suppose what is the memory compiler created? 65,530 suppose. This memory created by compiler. When I make a student name next address 65,000, next address it will be prints 65,000. Here I want to use 65,528, 2 bytes difference. Integer to character, 2 bytes difference. Suppose my first element started at 530 address, next element is stored at a 528 address, 2 bytes difference, integer to character. Suppose my character student name 10 size I have. Suppose 10 size. What is my next address? 10 bytes difference. 10 bytes because of student name occupied 10 bytes. 65,518. Finally, what is my conclusion? Student ID integer 2 bytes, student name character string 10 bytes, marks are integer 2 bytes. Now you see here 65,530, 65,528, 65,518. Integer to character 2 bytes, character to integer 10 bytes. Why? Because here not only single character, it is a string. I defined as string. Like you see that how to create a structure, struct keyword student, struct keyword student, int student ID, next character student name, but this size is 10 size, 10 bytes. Next integer marks, this is 2 bytes. Totally for this structure, how much memory allocates? How much memory allocates for this student structure? 2 bytes, integer student ID 2 bytes, student name each character 1 byte, that is the reason 10 bytes because of 10 size. Now for the marks 2 bytes, the marks are 2 bytes. Totally how much memory it's created for one student? 2 plus 10 plus 2. Totally how much memory? 14 bytes. Total occupied memory 14 bytes. For student total bytes required 14 bytes memory required, 14 bytes. Finally, every student structure, one student for 14 bytes. Suppose if I create S1 is a tag name. Suppose my tag name is S1. S1 occupied 14 bytes. If I declare another variable of student S2, again 14 bytes. If I declare S3, again 14 bytes, like this. Each student 14 bytes memory creates. Is it each element is separate memory address or same memory address? Each element is separate memory address. You check here, student ID 65,530 address, student name 65,528 address, marks are 65,518 address. Each element separate address it will be allocates. That is the main point to be understand for student structure. Now the same process coming to the unions, same process I want to create the union. How it is allocated? Union. Union also similar to structure, but which only difference? Memory difference, physically difference. Instead of structure, union. What is my union name? Student. Instead of structure, union. Union student. Int student ID. What is my next element? Character student name. What is my next element? Integer marks. These are my elements. Structure also same elements. When I declare the student structure, student ID, student name, marks. Similarly, union student also student ID, student name, marks. But what is the difference here? These three elements stored at one unique address. When you go for structure, student ID 65,530, student name 65,528, marks are 65,518, different memory address. Coming to the union, all group elements stored at one address. But which address it will be decided? Which address does all elements are storing? How it is decided? These three elements, which address will be stored the elements? Which is the highest memory occupation? In that element address only all values are stored. How to recognize that? These three elements, which is the highest memory occupation, in that address only all elements are storing. Student ID 2 bytes, student name 10 bytes, marks are 2 bytes. In the three elements, which is the highest memory capacity? 10 bytes. Student ID 2 bytes, student name 10 bytes, because each character 1 byte, marks are 2 bytes. In these three elements, which is the highest memory occupation? 10 bytes. In the 10 bytes only all elements will be sharing. All elements are stored at 10 bytes, that address. You see the diagram, how it is working of union diagram, check it. If I go for union, how it is processing that union, check it. Structure means you see line by line the elements are storing, student ID, student name, marks. But when you go for these unions, how it is storing, check it. Student ID, first student ID, the first element is student ID. After that second element, same time second element, student name. What is one more element I have? Marks, 3 elements. Now for the student ID something element to enter, and the student name something element, and marks for something value. Now I want to create these three elements stored at union. What is my union variable? U1. Union variable U1. Any variable, our wish. Union variable U1. Now three elements I have: student ID, student name, marks. But here these three elements stored at a same address, stored at a same address, not for different address, common address. These three elements common address allocates. Which address will be creates for these elements? 65,528. Actually this address is belongs to the student name address. This address is belongs to the student name address. Because of student name 10 bytes occupied, highest memory. In that address only the elements are storing. Now how it is storing here, listen. First 65,528 address, first storing student ID 1. First storing student ID 1. Whenever student ID 1 is stored in this address, same time another element cannot be stored. What is the problem of union? At a time one element only you can store in that address. 65,528 address, first inputting of student ID 1. While inputting of ID 1, you can't enter the name. Suppose when I type the XYZ, now I want to enter the name XYZ, I want to enter. When I enter the XYZ, the old one is cancelled. What is the mean that this 65,528 which is my latest value, this is cancelled. In this address only XYZ will be storing. First student ID 1 is storing. After that this value cancel, in the same address name will be storing. While inputting of name, marks cannot be stored. While inputting of name, marks cannot be stored. Whenever I type the mark, when I enter the marks, at that time this address cancel. That means XYZ name is cancelled. At that time this XYZ value cancel, which is my last value stored in this address, 65,528 address, which is my last value stored, 300 value it will be stored. Definitely or guarantee last element value can be refer, printing. Remaining values can be stored, but it is overriding the values. You observe here 65,528 address, first value 1. When I enter the XYZ, this value cancel, same address XYZ. When I inputted the 300 marker, XYZ cancel 300, which is my last storage value, 300 will be stored. But when you go for structure student, 65,530 address separate creates, value is 1. 65,528 another address creates, value is XYZ. 65,518 address created, value 400. But listen, in the student structure, integer 2 bytes, S name is 10 bytes, again marks 2 bytes, 14 bytes. But coming to the union, totally how much memory created? Totally 10 bytes. Total memory occupation 10 bytes. 10 bytes only created. Why 10 bytes only created? Because the student name 10 bytes address only all elements are sharing. ID sharing, mark sharing, name sharing. Finally, how much memory difference? Student structure 14 bytes occupied, but union data type 10 bytes only occupied. 10 bytes only occupied. How much memory saved? 4 bytes. 4 bytes memory saved. Compared to structure, 4 bytes memory saved. Memory saving, because all elements stored at a single address. But what is the problem of union? At a time one element only you can enter, individually you can enter the elements. all elements at a time you can't store. But when you go for structure, all elements can be stored at a time. You can store all elements. All elements you can store at a time, but in the union, at a time one element only you can store. That is a major difference of structure and union. You see that now? What is the major difference of structure and union here? Structure, all elements are different addresses, not for single address. But when you go for union, all elements at a single address. Student union. My union name is student. Here also student union. Here also student structure. Now you see that finally what is my conclusion here? What is the major difference between the structures and the unions? Structure also user defined type, union also user defined type. Structure, each element a separate memory allocated by compiler, but union all elements allocated by single address. One address only all elements will be storing. But under structure, each element separately you can enter. First you can enter the ID, next you can enter the S name, next you can enter marks, or all elements at a time also you can enter. But coming to the union, one by one only you have to store the elements. All elements you can't store at a time. First we store the ID. While inputting of ID, S name cannot be input. While inputting of S name, marks cannot be input. While inputting of marks, the remaining elements cannot be stored. All elements stored at a single address. And one more problem, union at a time one element only accepted. But in the structure, independently run the elements. All elements at a time accepted, separately you can enter the elements. But why you have to go for unions? Sometimes in the business logics, you want to create many elements. Many elements you want to create your union. But all elements I want to keep with some memory addresses. I want to save with some memory addresses. At that time, which is better? Union better. Union is memory saving. Structure is memory wastage. But compared to structure, union, how much memory saved? 4 bytes. In the previous example, 4 bytes memory saved. Student structure 14 bytes occupied, union student 10 bytes only occupied, 4 bytes memory saved. Structure union logically same but physically difference. Values are same but physical difference, addresses are different. But anyway, both are for user defined types, both are have the same syntax. Instead of struct keyword, union to be recommended. You see that some example program, how to create union, one example program. How to create a union, one example program, how it is working of that. Write a program to demonstrate union data type. How to create union type. Hash include stdio.h. Hash include conio.h. Now here I want to create union. What is my union name? Student. Inside of this I used int student ID, character student name, integer marks, 3 elements. Now I want to create void main. Inside of main, call to the union variable. Union, what is my union name? Student S. Now here S1. S1 is a tag name of student union. But what is the important point? While declaration of S1, you can't enter all elements like 1, Manoj and 300. You can't enter. 1, Manoj, 300. I mean 3 elements at a time you can't enter. It is illegal. It is shown error. Why? Because every union tag elements at a time one element only to enter. You can't enter multiple. Structure means possible. Suppose instead of union, if I put it as struct keyword, At that time these all elements can be entered. At a time you can enter 10 Manoj 300, because structure separate memory address storing. But when you go for union, all elements stored at a single address. That is the reason just a single element only to enter. How to make of that? Check it now. First I want to enter the number s1 dot sid equal to 10. I want to enter the name strcpy, string copy function name strcpy. Which name I want to copy? Manoj. Under which element? s1 dot sname. S1 is a union variable, sname is a element. But when I use the strcpy, one more header file to be open, string.h, because that is available on string.h header file, string.h. Now I want to create with s1.sid strcpy Manoj, s1.marks equal to 300. Independently I enter the elements. Now I want to print the elements. Printf. I want to print s1 id, student id equal to %d, student name equal to %s because string, marks equal to %d. How to print off that? s1.sid, s1.sname, s1.marks. But in this case I want to print what is the meaning of this printf statement? id will be prints, 10, name will be prints Manoj, and marks will be prints 300, 10 prints, Manoj prints, marks prints. But I want to print with addresses. How to print off address? I want to print a student id address. Student id value in the compiler, which location is there? Student id value stored at which address? How to see the address value? %d, because of every compiler memory addresses integers, %d integers, \n. I want to print a sname also address, not element, address. Any element address is %d because of integer address, compiler address. Next marks address, I want to print the marks address, %d. Finally, what is my conclusion? I want to print a student id address where it is stored your id value 10 where it is stored, and sname Manoj where it is stored address, and marks where it is stored address. How to print the address? Ampersand symbol. What is meant by ampersand symbol? Address of the variable. Generally ampersand symbol scanf I used. Before this element I used the ampersand symbol in printf, because I want to show the addresses. The element is on which address? Ampersand s1.sid, ampersand s1.sname, ampersand s1.marks. I want to show the addresses. Get ch to end of the main. Finally, in this program I want to print the union elements plus I want to print the address of each elements. Student id address, student name address, marks address. Ampersand indicates address. Now I want to save this program. File, save. Union1.c. Union1.c. Now I want to compile this program now. Union1.c. Union1.c. If I compile this program, check it, compile it. Union. Here I want to answer with \, no space, save. Now I want to compile it, no errors. Now I want to run it. What is the answer coming now here? Student ID value actually 300, but actually I inputted student ID 1. You observe here, my student ID, how much value I entered? 10 I entered. My student ID value 10. I used 10. 10 I entered. Student name Manoj. Marks are 300. But when I run this program, what is the answer coming? Internally first student ID 10 will be stored, but when I enter the student name, now 10 replaced by name. When I enter the marks, now the marks replaced by name. Finally, what is my conclusion? Finally, the last element answer is 300, correctly printing. Remaining 2 element values are 300 because it is overriding. Student ID 10 override with Manoj. Again Manoj override with 300, which is my last element stored. 300 is perfectly prints. 300 is perfectly prints. But you want to show the addresses. Address value you want to see that addresses values. How to see that address value? Check it. Actually I giving percentage D, but instead of percentage D, how to see the answer? Percentage U. U called as unsigned address. Percentage U. U indicates unsigned address. You see that once I taken that, I want to see the address format specifier. Which is the format specifier? Percentage U. U indicates unsigned address because addresses are negative chance. Percentage U for unsigned address. Percentage U to be used. You see that when I save and compile it now. When I save that and when I compile it again, now I compile it, now I want to run it. Yes, I want to change. Now I want to run one branch. Here I want to save again. Now I want to save again. These values to be saved again to use. What is my values here? I closed this, check it how it is working. File, save as. What is my program name? I changed union.c. Union.c I used. Now I want to open this. Percentage U is applied. U for unsigned address. Percentage U for unsigned address, that I want to open now. Open. Union.c. Union.c. Percentage U. Instead of percentage D is percentage U to be enter. Percentage U. Percentage U to be enter everywhere. Now here I used it with percentage D instead of that percentage U. And again also here instead of percentage D, what to be used? Percentage U. But the first one is values only to print. First one is values only to print here. Marks percentage D. First one is only the values. In the next one only percentage U. U for address. Again S name address. Again marks address. Percentage U. That I want to print. Percentage D. After that percentage S. Percentage D. This I want to print. You see that answer now here when I compile it. When I run it, you see the address. Now for the student ID 300 is there. Student name is something, it's ASCII value, and marks are 300 because the last value is 300, that is definitely printed, guarantee. The remaining old elements are overriding. What is the ID address? 65516. What is the S name address? 65516. What is the marks address? 65516. But same program, just a slight change. Same program instead of union. Same program instead of union. You observe here, struct keyword. Same program instead of union, struct keyword I changed. Struct keyword. Instead of union, struct keyword I changed. When I change the struct keyword, what is the answer coming? Student name is 10. And the student name should be print. Marks are 300. What is the student ID address? 65512. What is the student name address? 65514. And what is the marks address? 65524. Addresses are different. Student ID address 512. Student name address 65514. 2 bytes difference. Marks address 65524. 10 bytes difference. Integer to character 2 bytes. S name to character string to marks 2 bytes, sorry 10 bytes. Now when I change my structure means addresses makes difference. When I change the union means addresses are same address. It will be prints for same address. Same address only it will be prints. Now here strcpy string copy s1 dot sname, under s1 dot sname you want to copy the Manoj na, under s1 dot sname. I giving wrong syntax here. S1 dot sname comma what to be stored Manoj. You see that now I saved and compile it now. What is the answer? SID 10, sname Manoj, marks are 300, everything perfect. Student ID 10, student name Manoj, perfectly prints, marks are 300, perfectly prints. All addresses are different address. Suppose if I go for union, same program, instead of structure, union I changed. Instead of structure union I changed. At that time what is the problem here? All elements stored at a single address, 516, 516, 516, and value also last value storing. Now listen, in this program if I try to enter all elements at a time, is it accepted or not accepted? You observe. Under union variable all elements at a time you can't accept. Under union all elements at a time you can't accept, because all elements individually to enter. All elements at a time you can't accept here. You see that if I open the main, you see that 4 error coming. I mean here all elements not accepted, single element only accepted because of union. But instead of union, if I change my struct keyword, everything is okay. If my change for struct keyword, everything is okay. All elements at a time accepted. All elements are at a time accepted. That makes a difference. What is the difference of that structure and union? You see that how it is working of that structure and union. What is the difference of structure and union? Now in the previous program execution time, when I execute the previous program here, which I executed here, check it. When I execute that, structure, student ID, student name and marks, addresses are different. But if I execute with union, all elements are looking as same address. How to print the address value? What is the format specifier? %u. What is meant by %u? Unsigned address. Unsigned address will be prints %u. Any element address if I want to print, %u. Under printf only ampersand symbol to be used, address. In the previous example, each element separate address, separate value, guarantee printed structures. But when you go for union, all elements which is the last storage value, that only printed guarantee, last storage value, and all addresses are same address. That makes a difference of structure and union. Now you see that what are the differences you can write off that structures and union. I want to make differences between structures and unions. What is the difference between structures and unions? What makes difference of that? First point of structure, it is a user defined data type. It is a user defined data type. User defined data type. Under union, it is also user defined data type. It is also user defined data type. Coming to the structure, it is a collection of different elements. It is a collection of different elements stored in different address. Stored in different address. But coming to the union, second point, union, it is also collection of elements. It is also collection of elements, but stored in single address. Stored in single address, one address. And it is created, structure created, it is created with which keyword? Struct keyword. It is created with union keyword. It is created with union keyword. and structure elements accessed with the structure element access with the dot operator to be used. Similarly, union elements also accessed with the dot operator. Union elements also accessed with the dot operator, dot to be used, union elements. And now here memory bytes. Now in this memory bytes are wastage. Memory bytes are wastage. Coming to the union, memory bytes are saved. Save the memory bytes. And for the structure, all elements at a time you can enter. All elements at a time you can store. All elements at a time can store. But union, at a time single element only store. At a time single element only store. Individual element, single element only you can enter. Single element can store. These are the major difference between the structures and unions. These are only major difference, structures and unions. Now see, finally what is my conclusion here? Why you have to go for union? Union also user defined data type. Union similar to structures. Union also collection of different type of elements, and union also created similar to structure. But when you go for union, all elements stored at a single address or common address. But in the structure, all elements are stored at a different address, each element separate memory. If I want to save the memory bytes, you want to store many elements, then go for union. If I want to store with limited elements, then go for structures. But what is the problem of union? At a time, one element only you can enter. If I enter the last element, that value guarantee printed before elements are replaced by new elements. Structure means all elements can be stored at a time, because of all elements are stored at different address. Anyway, both are similarities you have. Structure also similar way, union also similar way. Structure created before main, union also created before main. Structure calling inside main, union also inside main. And both are for user defined data types. Both are to make for user defined data types. It's very helpful to store different type of elements. Both are have the same syntaxes. If I want to print the union address, what is the format specifier? %u. What is meant by u? Indicates unsigned address. %u for unsigned address. Now the today topic is over. The structures and unions I completed. One more user defined data types are there. Those data types are type def and enumerated data types. Type definition and enumerated data types. Those are also user defined data types. In the next session, further sessions I can continue for type def and enumerated data types. Thank you for this video. Hello students, welcome to the C language training program. Today I want to discuss with user defined data types, type definition, and one more is enumerated data type. Type definition and one more user defined data type you have, enumerated data type. It is also called as enum. Now the last sessions I discussed the union data type and one more is structure data type. Structure is also one data type, union also one data type. These are called as user defined data types. What is meant by structure? Structure called as user defined data type. It is a collection of different type of elements. Union is also called as user defined data type. It is also collection of different type of elements. But what is the major difference between the structure and union? Structure, all elements different memory locations it will be stored, but union, all elements stored at a unique address or single address. What is the major difference of structures and union? Structure, each element stored at a different address, but in the union all elements stored at a single address or unique address. How to make a structure? Struct keyword, type of the structure name, within the data types and elements. How to make a union? Union is a keyword, name of the union, different type of elements. Every structure declaration ended with a semicolon. Union declaration also ended with a semicolon. How to call the structure variables? Struct keyword, name of the structure, tag name to be used. Tag name is also called as structure variable. How to access the structure elements? Dot operator to be represents. Dot indicates to accessing of structure elements. How to call the union? Union, name of the union, tag name. How to access the union elements? Tag name dot elements, dot operator to use. But why you have to go for union compared to structures? What is the advantage of union compared to structures? Memory bytes saved. Because of all elements stored at a single memory address, at that time some memory bytes can be saved. But what is the problem of union? At a time one element only you can store. You can store at a time single element, but in the case of union all elements can be stored at a one variable. At a time you can store all elements. But when you go for structures, while working of structures now, memory bytes are wastage, union memory bytes are saved. Now the last sessions I discussed some example programs. How to refer the address of elements, ampersand symbol to be used. What is the indication of ampersand symbol? Address of elements. Now if I want to print the address value, compiler memory address value, which is the format specifier %u. What is meant by %u? Indicates unsigned address. You want to display the elements where it is stored in the compiler memory, you want to display the address of that %u. %u called as address, unsigned address. Now one more user defined data type to be discussed, that is called as type definition. It is also called as type def. What is meant by type def? It is also UD data type, user defined data type. What is the reason of type def? To make a short name for original data types. You have very large data types, you have very large data type names, or you have very large data type variables. If I want to make a short name of that, then you can go for type def. What is the work of the type def? Original data type, instead of that you want to call the short name. And what is one more advantage of type def? Alias name. Type def is working as alias name or nickname. For original data type position, you want to make a nickname or alias name with the help of type def. And every type definition define before main function. If I want to work with the type def, before main to define the type def. Type def is used to hide original names. Originally you have some data types, originally you have some user defined data types or built in data types. Instead of that you want to make some short name. When I refer the short name, internally brings to the original name. What is the advantage of the type def? Hiding. Original data types are hiding. Instead of that, you can show only for short names. Type def can be applied for built-in data types. Type def can be applied for user defined data types. Type def can be used for built-in data types like int, char, float. Type def can be applied for user defined like structures, unions, or any other user defined data types. Every type def, how to create two steps you have. One is for declaration of type def, another one is for calling of the type def. Where to be declare the type def? Before main function. Where to be call the type def? Inside the main to be call the type def. Now the type def can be defined inside of structures also. Inside of structures also you can define the type def. Finally, what is my conclusion? Why you have to go for type def, sir? It is called as user defined data type. Suppose in your programming, many areas you want to call the structure variable. Many areas to call the structure variable, then you make a short name type def. In your program, you want to call the many areas integer variables or character variables or any other data type variables. Instead of that, you can go for type def. It is a short name and easy to access. But the type def is a statement. It is not occupied any memory. It is just making the short name. It is a statement. Type def is a keyword. How to access of the type def now? You see the syntax. How to use of type def. How to working of the type def now? You see the syntax here. How to create of type def? Syntax type def. Type def, it is a short name type def. After that you have to mention the original name to be used. After that to be used. After that to be used with the short name also you have to mention. Short name to be defined. Now here I want to use with some example, type def example, check it. Type def keyword to be applied before main, within the structure also I can use type def int for integer, int for original name, I for short name, type def. Type def char c, actual type char, but instead of char c is a short name. Type def float f. What is the mean that originally float is a data type, but instead of that f is a short name. Suppose if I want to work with the type def inside of structures, what is the name of structure? Student. Name of the structure student. Now I want to define the integer variable I for integer, student number. Now I want to declare character variable C for character, student name, it is a string. Now I want to define with the f is a float, define with average mark. Every declaration ends with semicolon. Now I want to create with a short name. Type def structure, what is my original name? Student, SS, short name. Now you see the syntax of type def, how to define the type def here, see the syntax. Type def is a keyword. After that original data type, original name, either built-in data types or user defined data types. After that short name or nickname or alias name. Type def working as a short name or nickname or alias name. You see some example, type def, it is a keyword. int is a data type, integer type, original name, but instead of that I to be called. Type def char is a keyword, character type, instead of that C to be called. Type def float is a data type, instead of that F to be called, short names. Type def working as a alias, typedef working as a short name, typedef working as a synonym. What is meant by synonym? The working process equal to original but the short name. Synonym is called as equality, meaning it is working as a original data type only, but you want to refer the short name. Suppose if I want to work with the typedef under structures, struct student, student is a structure name, I for integer calling, serial number, I for integer, typedef, C for character student name, F for float, average. How to make a short name for the structure student? Typedef, it's a keyword. What is the original name? Struct student, it's a original structure calling. What is the short name? SS. SS will be referred to the short name of struct student. Now this is the syntax and the example of typedef. Now I want to define with some simple example program how to working of typedef. One simple example program. Write a program to demonstrate typedef with a structure. Now I want to define the typedef with a structure. How to create a typedef with structure? Hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h. Now every typedef should be defined before structure. If I have structure, before structure. If I don't have the structure, before main. Typedef, it's a keyword. Int I for integer. Typedef, I want to define char. What is my keyword? C, typedef. Typedef float, F. Now I want to create original structure. Struct employee, employee is a structure. EMP is a employee structure. What is my original? Int I for short name, employee ID. C for character, it's a typedef, employee name string. After that F for float, basic salary or salary. Every structure declaration ends with semicolon. Here C for character calling, F for float. Now I want to make a short name for the typedef here. Typedef struct. What is my original name? Struct employee. What is the short name? SE. SE called as struct employee. Originally struct employee, but I want to hide with SE. Originally I don't want to show. I want to make SE. Now I want to call with the main function. Under main, how to call the structure inside main? Actually how to call the structure? Struct employee and a variable. But here instead of struct employee, SE can be called short name. SE called as struct employee. What is my tag name? E. E is a tag name. Employee variable tag name. Now I want to enter the details. Employee number 10, employee name Manoj, employee salary 15,000. Now this is the first element of employee ID 10. Employee name is Manoj, employee salary 15,000. After that I want to use for clear screen and I want to print the details. Printf, I want to print employee ID is %d. How to print off that employee ID? E.EID. E called as variable of employee. After that I want to print employee name. Employee name is %s, string to be print. E.ename, employee name. After that I want to print with the salary value, %f, float value. Now I want to print with the E.salary, the salary to be print. Get ch to get the output screen. Finally this is the program. In this program I explained with the typedef, user defined type, as well as structure, typedef also there and structure also there. Both are user defined types. But answers are no difference, results are no difference, but instead of original names you are calling the short names. Output values are no difference. Now I want to save these. I want to save the program typedef1.c, typedef1.c. Here I used with the typedef1.c. Under Turbo C editor, I want to open this program now. typedef1.c, type definition. Now I want to compile and run this program. What is the answers coming now? Employee ID 10, employee name Manoj, employee salary 15,000. The outputs are no difference. What I am inputted here, employee ID 10, employee name Manoj, employee salary 15,000, but these all elements accessed with the E. Now for the E is a tag name, the E calling for which short name? SE. SE called as struct employee. Finally, in this program, while working off this program now, you see that in this program, I am creating with a typedef with a struct keyword. Originally, how to access my struct employee, short name to be accessed. What is my short name? E is a variable or employee structure variable. But instead of that, I don't want to show the original structure details. Instead of that, struct emp, short name to be used. That short name called as typedef. What is my typedef I created here? SE. SE means struct employee. Instead of that original struct employee, short name is SE. But remaining details are no difference. Even without typedef also, same results will be displayed. With the typedef also, same results will be displayed. But what is a major usage of typedef? In my program, I have many structures, many structure details I want to access. And in my program, I am declaring many type of variables like integer type, character type, float type. Instead of that original types, you want to make some short names. Those are easy to access. And one more advantage, hiding purpose. Original names are not visible. Original names, you don't want to see that, hiding of these original names, short names only to visible. That is the reason to go for typedef. One more important point, type definition can applied only for user defined data types and built-in data types. Typedef used only for data types. Typedef cannot applied for other expressions or functions or formulas or constants. Typedef strictly applicable for data types. Typedef cannot applied for formulas or functions or constants or expressions. Now already I discussed in the C programming language, if I want to make a short name for expressions or short name for constants, short name for functions or short name for messages, that is possible with the help of macro preprocess command. Already I discussed macro preprocess command. Already I discussed. What is the definition of macro? Macro is called as preprocess command, user defined preprocess command. Every macro recorded with either built-in expressions or functions or formulas or constants. The original expressions, the original functions, the original constants, you make a short name, that is for macros. But the typedef is completely different. Typedef also short name, but the typedef applicable only for data types. Only for data types to apply typedef. Other than that, all expressions or functions or constants or variables, then go for macros or preprocess commands. But anyway, both are used for short name purpose. Short name purpose only to use. And some difference you have. Typedef where to be defined? Before main. Macro also where to be defined? Before main. Typedef and macro, some similarities you have. Typedef declaration before main. Macro also before main. how to create the macro? What is the syntax? Hash define. Hash define. First short name, then original name. But what is the difference of type def here? Type def syntax, type def first original name, then you indicate the short name. First you have to put it as original name, then you have to indicate the short name. And macro separate memory allocated by compiler. Every macro process, compiler allocated a specific amount of memory. But the type def no memory allocation. Originally whatever memory created, same memory to access for type def. There is no any separate memory. Now for the macro, you can run with the functions, formulas, constants, expressions. Type def can execute with only data types. Every macro is a command that is not ended with semicolon, but every type def is a statement ended with a semicolon. Type def is a user defined statement ended with semicolon, but the macro there is no semicolon. Type def you have to mention the semicolon. And for the type def also, macro also, before main only to access. Both usage is easy to work with structures or easy to work with expressions or constants. You see that one example. Single program you can create with the type def and macro also. Now I want to demonstrate with the type def and macro in single program. One program also to run the type def and macro. You see that single program how to use the type def and macro. Now I want to explain with one simple program, type def and macro. Write a program to demonstrate type def, type definition, user defined data type, and macro, pre-process command. Both I want to define. In single program both should be defined. Now I want to create with a macro here. How to create of that? Hash, generally hash include, it's a header file creation first. After that I want to create with hash include conio.h. After that I want to create with macros. Suppose in my program I have macros and type def, first priority macros, then next proceeding of type def. First priority macro. Hash define pf, pf for short name, printf for original. After that hash define sf, sf for scanf, it's a short name, scanf purpose. After that hash define mn for main function. Hash define clr, scr, clear screen. Hash define, here I used double gc for get ch, but macro don't mention the semicolons. Hash define, here I used msg, what is my message? Enter book details, enter book details, enter the book details. Now these all are for macros. Hash define pf for printf, hash define sf for scanf, hash define mn for main, hash define clr for clear screen, hash define gc for get ch, hash define message enter book details. Those are for macros. First short then actual. Now I want to define type def, int for I. Now I want to define type def, char for C, type def. Now I want to work with the structure. What is my structure? Book is my structure. Here. Under that book I for integer, type def name, short name. Now I want to use book ID, C for character, book name. Now I want to define with again I for integer again. I want to go for pages, number of pages, book number of pages. Now I want to make a short name for this struct type def, my original type def. Original is struct book. What is my short name? SB. SB called as struct book. It's a short name. Now I want to access with the main function. How to access of main function now? Void. I used mn. Mn already I defined. Mn is a macro. Mn for macro for main. Mn is a macro for main. Main function purpose mn I used. After that I want to call the struct book instead of the tag name SB. SB for struct book. What is my variable? B1. B1 is the book variable. I want to enter the details. What is my details? Book 1. What is my book name? Data structures or DS. Here I used DS. Book name is DS or C with DS. After that I defined with pages, number of pages 250 pages. Now I want to define with CL. What is meant by CL? CL for whatever name I used, CLR. CLR for clear screen. But actually here directly I am entering with the equal to symbol, assignment operator. This method also you can input. Otherwise scanf method at runtime also you can enter. Scanf method runtime. How to enter the runtime? PF. PF indicates printf. MSG. MSG called as enter book details. Already I have the expression macro. PF for printf. MSG for enter book details. Book the details. I want to enter the book details. SF for scanf. I want to read for %D book ID. %S for book name. %D for number of pages. How to read that? Yeah, B1 dot book ID. B1 dot book ID to enter. After that ampersand B1 dot book name to be entered. After that I want to enter with the ampersand B1 dot pages to enter. Now here the first one is book ID should enter. Next one is address of book name. Then next one is pages, book details. Once I enter that, I want to show the answer. Book ID equal to %D, book name equal to %s. After that pages, number of pages equal to %D. These are the details which I want to print here. B1 dot book ID should print, B1 dot book name to be print, B1 dot pages to be print. What are the elements I inputted? That to be print. GC, GC for get ch. Finally, in this program, I have macros and a type def. Now, in this program, which is my macros expressions, CLR for clear screen, PF for printf, MSG for enter books, SF for scanf, GC for get ch. These are macros, predefined. Now, in this, I have SB. SB means struct book. Struct book is the original. Short name is SB. It's a type def. Both you have user defined and macro preprocess. Now I want to save these. Type def 2.c. Type def 2.c. Type definition only. One more example. Macro and type def. Type def 2.c. I have the macros and type def both. I want to enter the book details, book ID 1, book name is C with DS. One more is pages 250. Just answers are reading and printing. I inputted the book details from the keyboard and I print the details. There is no difference. This is easy to maintain because of macro I have, type def is that. Now see what are the differences between the macros and the type def. Now I want to define with some differences. Differences between type def and macro. What are the differences between type def and macro? Both are for user defined purpose, short name purpose. What is the first point of type def? It is a user defined data type. It is a user defined data type. What is the first point of macro? It is a user defined pre-process command. Typedef is a data type, but it is a pre-process command. Under typedef, it is used to make short name, to make the short name for original data types. What is the reason of typedef? To make a short name for original data types like integer types or character types or structure types, any types. Whatever types are there, for this reason you want to go for any short names. What is the reason of macro? It is used to make a short name for original expression, either original expression short name, original expression like you can go for formulas also make, or constants also you make, or functions also to make. This is for short name purpose. And one more point, it is defined before main. It is defined before main. Typedef defined before main. It is also defined before main. Macro also defined before main. Before main function only defined. And one more point, it is used very large expressions to make short name, easy to access. Very large expressions to make short name. And here it is used very large data types. I mean, many times same data types you want to access, very large data types to make alias name purpose. And while working of typedef, there is no any memory occupation. There is no any memory occupations here. Now you see here, first one is typedef, it is used to user defined data type. Macro is, it's a user defined pre-process command. Typedef applied for original type shorts, int, char, struct. This is applied for formulas, constants and functions. Typedef are defined before main. Macro also defined before main. And the typedef, it is used very large expressions. This is a typedef process. It is used very large data type to make a alias name. And this is used, macro is used very large expressions to make a short name. And one more is typedef not occupied any memory. It is not allocated separate memory. Compiler not allocated any memory. Separate memory allocation not available. But when you go for macro, it is allocated separate memory. It is allocated separate memory allocated here. Separatedly you want to make a memory, special amount of memory creates. Every typedef ends with semicolon. It is ends with this statement. This declaration statement ends with semicolon. This declaration statement ends with semicolon. But when you go for this expression or macro, this declaration not ended with semicolon, because it is not a statement, it is working as a expression. It is not a statement, it is a command. Now this declaration not ended with semicolon. Not ended with a semicolon. These are the differences between the typedef and macros. But anyway, both are used for short purpose, easy to access and easy to process purpose. But both are, without macro also you can run the program, without typedef also you can run the program. Answers are no difference. Wherever you have heavy coding, heavy formulas, then you have to go for this. You see that now what is the major differences of that typedef and macros? Typedef wherever mostly number of user defined data types are there, that you can make with the short names with the help of user defined data types, type def, and wherever integer, character, float many times you are declaring, then go for type def to be used. And one more is macro, wherever same formula repeatedly, I mean same expression repeatedly number of times, like a printf many times, scanf many times, or same formula many areas, or same constants many areas, then go for macros. And type def also user defined process purpose, macro also user defined process. Now for the type def before main to be declared, macro also before main to be declared. Type def not allocated special amount of memory, but the macro allocated special amount of memory allocated. And type def, what is the syntax? First you have to put it as type def original type, after that short names. But when you go for macro, what is the syntax you have? Hash define. First you have to mention the short name, then you have to mention the original name or original expression. Every type def ended with a semicolon, it is working as a statement. But for the macro never ended with semicolon, because it's a user defined command, it is not a statement, it's a pre-process. Now for the type def only applicable for data types, but the macro for applicable except of data types remaining things like functions, formulas, constants or other expressions. Now for type def also used for very easy to access your programs, like if I have many area structures, many areas unions, many areas same declaration, then go for to use for type def. But with the type def also, without the type def also, the result not affected anywhere. The result won't be affected, result is same, without also, with also same answer getting, but it is easy to access. It is not recommended, it is not compulsory, but it is recommended sometimes wherever heavy coding. Macro also every program is not recommended. In my program many areas printf. Suppose I want to use the printf function 100 times. Every time to use printf, 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 every time to use. But instead of that printf, I want to make some short names. It is better to easy to make a coding. Easy to make a coding and easy to make a expressions or formulas. That is the reason you can go for macro process. But with macro also, without macro also, the result won't be affected. The result is same. This is completely today discussed user defined data types. Type def I discussed and one more is macro, that is already discussed. But type def and macro both are similarities. How it is working of type def and macros, that I discussed today's session. In the next session I discussed with one more user defined data type is there, that is called as enumerated data type. It is called as enum data type. Now the complete discussions user defined data types are structures, that's already completed, unions, it's already completed, structures, unions, type def, today's session I completed this, and one more user defined data type, enumeration. In the next session, tomorrow's session I will continue enumerated data types. Thank you for this video.
అందరికీ నమస్కారం. కళాశాల విద్యాశాఖ పక్షాన అందరికీ కూడా నమస్సుమాంజలి. డిగ్రీ ద్వితీయ సంవత్సర విద్యార్థులకు సంక్రాంతి సంబరం పాఠ్యభాగ విశేషాలను చూద్దాం. మరి సంక్రాంతి అంటే మనందరికీ ఇష్టమైనటువంటి పండగ. తెలుగు లోగిళ్లలో అందరూ కలిసి కన్నుల పండుగగా జరుపుకునేటువంటి పండుగ. తెలుగు లోగిళ్లలో అందరూ కూడా పంటలు ఇంటికి వచ్చే వేళ అందరూ మరి కుటుంబ సమేతంగా సకుటుంబ సపరివార సమేతంగా జరుపుకునేటువంటి పండుగ సంక్రాంతి. ఆంధ్రుల అతిపెద్ద పండుగ అని సంక్రాంతి పండుగకి ఒక విశిష్టత ఉంది. మరి లోకంలో ఆయనాలు రెండు ఉన్నాయి, ఉత్తరాయణం, దక్షిణాయనం. మరి ఉత్తరాయణం అంటేనే పుణ్యకాలం అని చెప్తాం. మకర రాశి మరి సూర్య సంక్రమణాన్ని బట్టి మకర రాశిలోకి సూర్యుడు ప్రవేశించడాన్ని బట్టి మరి ఉత్తరాయణం ప్రారంభమైంది. అటువంటి పుణ్యదినంలో జరుపుకునేటువంటి పండుగే సంక్రాంతి సంబరం. ఆ సంక్రాంతి సంబర విశిష్టతలో భాగంగా రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు మరి మిశ్రమంజరి నుంచి ఈ పాఠ్యభాగాన్ని తీసుకున్నారు. ఆ విశేషాలను పరిశీలిద్దాం. రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారిని చూడండి ఆ చిత్రపటంలో. మరి గుంటూరు జిల్లా బాపట్ల తాలూకా గారపాడులో 1892 మార్చి 13వ తేదీన ఆయన జన్మించారు. తెలుగు వారందరికీ కూడా సుప్రసిద్ధులు. మరి ఆధునిక కవిత్వానికి నేత్రద్వయంగా చెప్పబడేటువంటి కవులు ఇద్దరు, ఒకరు గురజాడ అప్పారావు గారు అయితే మరొకరు రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు. మరి రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు మరి తెలుగు కవిత్వానికి ఆధునిక కవిత్వంలో మరి 2వ పదిలోనే 1920 ప్రాంతంలోనే మరి తెలుగు ఆధునిక సాహిత్యాన్ని సమగ్రంగా దర్శించినటువంటి క్రాంతదర్శిగా తెలుగు సాహితీ చరిత్రలో ఆయన ప్రసిద్ధులయ్యారు. వారు రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు రాజమహేంద్రవరం, హైదరాబాదు, మద్రాసు ప్రాంతాల్లో విద్యను అభ్యసించారు. మరి వారి ఉద్యోగ ప్రస్థానాన్ని చూస్తే మరి రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారికి ఒక విశిష్టత ఉంది. ఉస్మానియా విశ్వవిద్యాలయం తెలుగు శాఖ తొలి ఆచార్యుడిగా కీర్తి పొందారు. మరి వరంగల్ ఆర్ట్స్ అండ్ సైన్స్ కళాశాల ప్రిన్సిపల్ గాను, శ్రీ వెంకటేశ్వర విశ్వవిద్యాలయం ఆచార్యులుగా కూడా వారు విశేషమైనటువంటి సేవలు అందించారు. మరి ఆంధ్ర సారస్వత పరిషత్తు అని హైదరాబాద్లో మరి అబిడ్స్లో తిలక్ నగర్లో ఆంధ్ర సారస్వత పరిషత్తు స్థాపించబడి ఉంది. మరి తెలుగువారు చదువుకోవటానికి అక్కడ ఓరియంటల్ కళాశాల, తెలుగు పండిత శిక్షణ కళాశాల ఉంది. ఆ ఆంధ్ర సారస్వత పరిషత్తు రథసారథి ఎవరు అంటే దేవులపల్లి రామానుజారావు గారు అని చెప్తాం. అటువంటి ఆంధ్ర సారస్వత పరిషత్తు స్థాపించడంలోనూ ఆ సంస్థ నిర్వహణలో ప్రముఖమైనటువంటి పాత్ర వహించారు రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు. మరి ప్రాచీన సాహిత్యం పరిణామక్రమంలో భాగంగా ఆధునిక కవిత్వం వచ్చింది. మరి సాహిత్యంలో అన్నీ మారుతూనే ఉన్నాయి, మారంది మార్పు ఒకటే. మరి ఆధునిక కవిత్వాన్ని మొట్టమొదట మనం హేతువాద కవిత్వం, సంఘ సంస్కరణ, జాతీయోద్యమ కవిత్వం అని చెప్పుకుంటూనే మరి భావ కవిత్వం అనేటువంటిది మనం చెప్పుకుంటున్నాం. అటువంటి ఆధునికాంధ్ర కవిత్వానికి ఆచార్యుడిగా చెప్పదగినటువంటి కవిశ్రేష్ఠుడు రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు. మరి భావ కవిత్వానికి పితామహుడిగా మనం చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉన్నాం. భావ కవిత్వం అంటే మరి భావం లేని కవిత్వం ఉంటుందా అనేటువంటిది కూడా విమర్శక లోకంలో ఒక ప్రస్తావన ఉంది. అటువంటి భావ కవిత్వానికి పితామహుడిగా రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు మరి భావ కవిత్వానికి నాంది పలికారు అని చెప్పవచ్చు. తెలుగు తల్లి అని అంటాం మనం. అటువంటి తెలుగు తల్లి అనే పదబంధాన్ని మొదటగా ప్రయోగించినటువంటి వారు రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు. రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు ఇప్పుడే మనం చెప్పాం భావ కవిత్వం అని చెప్పన్నాం. మరి ఆధునిక కవిత్వం యొక్క పరిణామక్రమంలో ఆధునిక కవిత్వాన్ని ఒక్కొక్కరు ఒక్కొక్క పేరుతో పిలిచారు. నోరి నరసింహశాస్త్రి నవ్య కవిత్వం అన్నారు, దువ్వూరి రామిరెడ్డి గారు గీత కవిత్వం అన్నారు, దేవులపల్లి కృష్ణశాస్త్రి కాల్పనిక కవిత్వం అన్నారు, గాడిచెర్ల హరిసర్వోత్తమరావు గారు భావ కవిత్వం అన్నారు. ఆ భావ కవిత్వంలో మరి ఆచార్యుడిగా పేరు పొందినటువంటి రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు మొట్టమొదట లలిత అనేటువంటి పేరుతోటి తొలి కవిత్వ రచనను ప్రారంభించడం జరిగింది. అలివర్ గోల్డ్ స్మిత్ రాసినటువంటి హెర్మిట్ని మూలంగా తీసుకొని రాయప్రోలు వారు లలిత అనేటువంటి పేరుతో తొలి భావ కవిత్వాన్ని రచించడం జరిగింది. లలిత తరువాత వారు అనుమతి, అది కూడా టెన్నిసన్ రాసినటువంటి డోరా అనే దాన్ని అనువాదంగా అనుమతి అనే కావ్యాన్ని రాశారు. మరి ఆయన రచనల్లో ప్రసిద్ధమైనటువంటిది తృణకంకణం, కష్టకమల, స్నేహలత, స్వప్నకుమారం, తెనుగుతోట, ఆంధ్రావళి, జడకుత్సులు, వనమాల, కన్నెపాటలు, మిశ్రమంజరి, మరి వారు 2 లక్షణ గ్రంథాలు కూడా రాశారు. రమ్యాలోకం, మాధురీ దర్శనం అనేటువంటి పేరుతో లక్షణ గ్రంథాలు కూడా వారు రాశారు. రూపనవనీతం, ఉత్తర రామచరిత్ర, సుందరకాండ, శకుంతల లాంటి అనువాద గ్రంథాలు రాశారు. దూతమత్తేబం, మధుకలశం, రాసపంచాధ్యాయి లాంటి రచనలు వారి కలం నుండి జాలువారాయి. మరి సుదీర్ఘమైనటువంటి కవితావాన్ని వారు ఆధునిక కవిత్వంలో వారు అందించడం జరిగింది. రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు 1917లో జరిగిన ఆంధ్ర మహాసభలో పాల్గొన్నారు. ఆ స్ఫూర్తితోనే జాతీయోద్యమ కవిత్వాన్ని కూడా వారు రచించారు. మరి తెలుగు సాహిత్యంలో కోకిలస్వామిలాగా కుహూ కుహూ రావాలు చేశారు రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు. మరి ఆ విధంగా కుహూ కుహూ రావాలు చేస్తూ కవి విహంగాలలో కలకలం కలిగించినటువంటి కోకిలస్వామి రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారు. గురజాడ వైతాళికులై కవులను మేల్కొల్పితే కవుల గలాలను సవరించి కలకూజితాలు చేయడానికి రాయప్రోలు ప్రారంభకులయ్యారు. మరి ఆధునిక నేత్రద్వయంగా ఆధునిక యుగానికి 2 కళ్ళు, మరి యువకర్తలు అంటే గురజాడ రాయప్రోలు వారు అన్నంతగా పేరు పొందినటువంటి వారు రాయప్రోలు. ఆంధ్ర పౌరుషాన్ని రేకెత్తించే కవిత్వంతో ఒక నూతన యుగానికి పాదులు తీసిన తోటమాలి రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు గారినిగా మనం స్మరించాలి. అతడు యుగకర్త, ఆచార్యుడు, ఆంధ్రవాణి, అభినవాదర్శ మార్గ విద్యాప్రదాత, కోకిలస్వామి అతని గుండె గొంతు, అభినవలోకమాతని ఆత్మగీతి అని సుప్రసిద్ధ విమర్శకులు, తెలుగు విశ్వవిద్యాలయ మాజీ ఉపాధ్యక్షులు ఆచార్య జీవి సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం గారు రాయప్రోలు వారిని గురించి ప్రశంసించారు. తెలుగు తోట చల్లని పందిళ్లలో వాల్మీకి గోమతల్లికను పితికి చక్కని భావకవిత్వాన్ని అందించి భావకవిత్వ పితామహుడిగా పేరు పొందాడు రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు. సాహిత్యం మారుతూ ఉంటుంది. కాల ధర్మానుగతమై జగత్ ప్రవృత్తి మారునప్పుడు వాన్మయం మారు నిజము అని మరి వాస్తవాన్ని చాలా స్పష్టంగా కవితాత్మకంగా మరి వాచ్యంగా వారు చెప్పడం జరిగింది. మరి కాలం మారేటప్పుడు, జగత్ ప్రవృత్తి మారేటప్పుడు సాహిత్యం అనేటువంటిది మార్పులు రావటం అనేది జరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది. మనం అన్నీ మారుతూ ఉంటాయి. వస్తువు, కవిత్వం, అభివ్యక్తి, వస్తువు, శిల్పం, రూపం అన్నీ మారుతూ ఉంటాయి. మారంది మార్పు ఒక్కటే. కాబట్టి మార్పు అనే పదం తప్ప అన్నీ కూడా మారుతూ ఉండాలి. కొత్తదనం అనేటువంటిది రావాలి. మరి రాయప్రోలు వారు అనగానే ఏ దేశమేగినా ఎందుకాలిడినా ఏ పీఠమెక్కినా ఎవ్వరేమనినా పొగడరా నీ తల్లి భూమి భారతిని, నిలుపరా నీ జాతి నిండు గౌరవము అంటూ మరి ఏ పూర్వపుణ్యమో ఏ యోగ బలమో జనించినాడవి స్వర్గఖండమున, ఏ మంచి పువ్వులను ప్రేమించినావో నిన్ను మోచయి తల్లి కనకగర్భమున అని చెప్పి మన యొక్క జన్మభూమిని గురించి కీర్తించాడు. లేరురా ఇటువంటి భూదేవి యందు, లేరురా మన వంటి పౌరులింకెందు, సూర్యుని వెలుతురులు సోకునందాక ఓళ్ల జెండాలు ఆడునందాక అందాక గల ఈ అనంతభూతలని మన భూమి వంటి చల్లని తల్లి లేదు, పాడరా నీ తెలుగు బాలగీతములు, పాడరా నీ వీర భావభారతము అంటూ మరి దేశాభిమానాన్ని, జన్మభూమి పట్ల ఉండేటువంటి అనురాగాన్ని స్పష్టంగా అందించినటువంటి వారు రాయప్రోలు సుబ్బారావు.